council meeting. If you are here to speak on an agenda item, there is a sign up sheet for that. And if you want to speak on a non-agenda item, there's a sign up for that as well for after our voting agenda. So we will give everybody a minute or two to sign up if they would like. And if I don't see anybody running over there, then I will go ahead and call us to order. I don't believe that we have a scout this evening to lead us in the pledge. Has anybody seen one? Okay. Now if you'll stand with me for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence for our military. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Sanchez.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
Acree. Present. Siba. Here. Suter.
Here.
Grover.
Here.
McCart.
Get a motion to, oh, sorry, here. A motion to approve the minutes of the July 28, 2026 Bentonville City Council meeting.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Patterson.
Yes.
Acree.
Yes.
Siba.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Hook.
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Would any member like to make a preliminary motion?
I make a motion to suspend the rules requiring ordinances reread on 3 separate days and further move all ordinances and resolutions be read over their title only. Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Acree.
Yes.
Siba.
Yes.
Suter.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Hook.
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
With that, we get a motion to adjourn from our city council meeting into committee of the whole. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, I'll turn it over to Chris.
Okay, we'll start with our quarterly financial update. Patrick?
So since you all, a week ago, the quarterly financial updates, and asked if anybody had any questions. I didn't receive anything and wondered if anybody had any statements or questions this evening.
I would like, in addition to quarterly financial update, I would love to see some kind of a regular KPI report that is a quick digestible version of how is the city doing. Something, some kind of a, 5 or 6
Like a
lines,
dashboard.
like a dashboard, something that is just easy to digest, easy to read, and then if there's questions from that, then we can dig into some.
Sort of maybe like 5-6 line executive summary of
Exactly.
this, just if we're seeing where we're expecting. So, okay.
Yes.
Revenues, expenses.
What goes in, what comes in.
Key
Yep.
metrics. Yeah, yeah. Sure.
And great job on your audit.
Hmm?
Great job on the audit.
Oh, yeah, well, that's, thank you.
Patrick, did we get the award for the best budget in town or in the
Well, so we did for
last year?
last year, but we still have to do next year's budget. So, yeah, I guess we didn't ever bring that forward. I guess we never bring the GFOA forward, but we did.
Usually
We
we put
did.
it out when it's announced.
We did. And we can send that out. I will have that sent.
So beautiful. Thank you.
So beautiful. So would you like to talk about the audit, Patrick? Is it?
Yeah, I sent you all the audit, the link to the audit. It's available out there. So if you have any commentary on it, please let us know. So,
And then we'll vote on approving that in 30 days, or how does that work? Or do we
No.
vote? We don't vote.
don't vote on it. No, you just.
Wait. Any questions on the audit or the financials before we let Patrick off way too easy?
The fun stuff. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have now an update on the water system performance. Preston, is Preston here? Who's doing
It's
that?
gonna be Donnie and Bo.
Donnie and Bo.
They are,
There they are.
They are
Thank
the
goodness.
team tonight.
We're just hiding back.
I'm interested to know if Preston is actually listening in.
Didn't see,
Leaving you all on your own. Okay.
did not see him logged on. Hello, everyone. I know that he kind of gave you all an overview, last meeting. I'm sorry, I apologize. We weren't for that, but we're here now. So, he gave you all the overview. I kind of want to give some details, to kind of support all of that. So make sure this thing works. Checked it earlier. So what we want to do is compare the first half of 26 to the first half of 25. Everybody kind of knows where we were in 25. That's when we very first kind of kicked off our contractors to help us out with our water loss situation. So I thought that that would be a really good starting point. So this will be January through June of 25 and 26. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm actually really proud of this slide. There's a lot of information here. 2026, you can see that's 2.8 billion gallons purchased compared to 3.4 billion in 25. That's a decrease of 600 million gallons. That's 18% decrease. I don't have that on there, but I did put a dollar amount to that. I calculated the wholesale price from last year's $1.67, what we bought in 25 from Beaver Water, to $1.82 per thousand for this year, and that's a savings of $603,000. So that's money that we didn't have to spend to buy extra water.
Sale.
That's the entire system. So that includes that Bella Vista and Cave Springs. Yeah, this is just a sheer volume that we purchased.
What was that? What's that number again?
The dollar amount, 603,421. So that's just based off of the reduction. Our daily averages, I'm pretty proud of this one too. So you can see in 25, our daily average for that 6 months was almost 19 million gallons a day. Now we're at 15.7. Our max day now is 18.4 compared to 23 back then. I will say that this was again through June, the end of June. It was July 1st, the very next day is actually whenever it just turned immediately hot and the rain turned off. So we're actually, our biggest day was 24.1 and we hit that yesterday. So this is just slightly out of date, but I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that we did hit our biggest day yesterday.
Built today.
Yeah.
Built today, and that's probably worse.
So actually today's looking like it's going to be slightly less.
Really?
Based on what I seen before I left the office. So I think it'll be 23 something tomorrow. The gallons billed. So this is kind of talking about the growth. Obviously the meter management that we've continued to do, but this is more driven towards growth. An increase of 40 million gallons that's billed, so 3%. So we're buying less water, we're selling more water. So that's really cool. And then the gallons lost. So I put that at the very bottom. So in 26, we're losing still, or we lost, sorry, during this period, 1.4 billion. But I mean, that's down 500 million compared to, the year before. So 32% reduction, savings of almost $1.2 million. So really proud of this slide. This has the majority of the information. You can see the graph to the right where the contractor started, where the rate increase is. I know that that's important to note. You can see in the summer months where, the purchases went up because that's the irrigation season and it's hot and everything. And then it's tapering back down. But if you kind of look towards the right and compare that to the left, you can see that overall it's still down. It's just kind of a visual to go along with those numbers. This next slide is our district metering summary. So this is kind of a snapshot of our system. This is 9 subdivisions. You guys probably remember we started this Highland Park. That was kind of our flagship early in 2025. So we saved a lot of money in there. We're really proud of that one. We were, the master meter was registering 500,000 gallons a day across. It was 54 lots. So that's a ton of water. We knocked that down to just almost 13,000 gallons a day. So that was a huge win. You can see these other subdivisions. It's not quite that great of a story, but it's still a good story all in all. You can see at the bottom, we're down 2.6 million gallons purchased across those 9, those 9 subdivisions, and it's down to well below 1 million. So I know I've got on here a return on investment in just under 2 years. This started in 2025, so we've already started to make some of that money back. But just overall, those 9 subdivisions, the loss that we had in there and the progress we've made, we're saving, 1.8 million gallons and about $1 million annually in not having to purchase that water. Really proud of that one too. Yes, sir.
Maybe you can talk on the next slide, but I see the contractor status.
Mhm.
over there. I'm just curious to know how much more is left to do.
I've got that at the very last slide.
Mhm.
We're getting there. Still have a lot to do. So IDIQ contractors, this is again, just for the first 6 months of the year. They both have done 8 work assignments. Calcon continues to be our best performing contractor. They're right at 400 service line replacements, averaging slightly higher than MOARC. MOARC, obviously 315 service line replacements. They both have a 45 service replacement minimum per month. You can see MOARC's right there at it. Calcon is exceeding. The difference in the pricing, because they're both working under the same bid, is really one contractor may have more concrete to replace than the other. This contractor may have more short size versus a long side, which requires a bore under the road. It's an added expense. So that's kind of how there's a difference in the pricing. But you can see we've spent so far in 26 about $3.5 million, averaging just under $4,900 a service. We're really happy with the work these guys are doing. They're really doing a lot for us. Customer complaints are less than they were last year. Everybody's really starting to figure this thing out. They're doing a really good job, and we're glad to have these guys. So this is our last slide, Dan. This is where we sit as of, this was updated last week. We're actually slightly lower. I think we're at 560 on the active leaks, that blue number to the left. When we started this thing, we were over 1,500. Some of you'll remember we had CEI come in, we had a contractor come in and find all the leaks, and that's kind of what kicked this thing off. We seen what we were up against, realized the need, and then we're able to build a path forward. So in just over a year, this is where we're at now with the active leaks. Over 3,400 service line replacements. And keep in mind, these are not just leak clamps. This is not just a Band-Aid. These are full-on service line replacements. So we don't have to go back and take care of these. We're also being proactive. So we're not just replacing leaking lines. We're replacing sister lines as well. So when us and the contractor, when there's excavated, the service lines are excavated, the one that's leaking, if there's another one in the hole, which there generally is based on our subdivision layout, we're going ahead and replacing it as well. And if there's 2 long sides as well. So we don't have to go back in and dig up the yard or tear up a sidewalk again for the next one that's going to leak 6 months from now or 2 years from now.
Do you have like a specific metrics for when they're repaired and when they're replaced? Like for the contractor, is it the size or what determines that?
So for the most part, up to this point, it's been, hey, I've got a leak in my yard. I've got a leak going down the road. There's been people have been really good about letting us know where it's at. And so we kind of focus on those, the ones that are really garnering a lot of attention. 311 has been big too. And then also because a lot of time they're in the location of these CEI leaks, we're going ahead and taking care of those as well. But we've minimized or we've knocked those down severely. The ones that we call them screamers, but the ones where everybody's like, hey, get this thing fixed now. That's really backed off a lot. So now we're really able to focus more on that original list and get these knocked down. So sorry, to answer your question, we are focusing on the subdivisions that we identified before that were built in 04 to 08 in that first initial boom. That's where we've seen the most of the leaks, and that's where we're really focusing on.
So and those are the ones you're replacing, kind of the ones that we identified, we know they need to be replaced. The ones in the repair number are others that have kind of popped up, but that can be addressed
Yes.
just with the repair.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so this is the original list that the contractor provided us of all the leaks. But then also as we generate new leaks, when a work order is created, the script picks it up and it puts it on this dashboard
Okay.
every week. So when we update this dashboard, that's capturing new leaks as well.
So remember we had we did the smoke testing to find all the leaks with the company, but then also through 311, just like the lady that came at our last council meeting, immediately contacted you. I think you guys that night, you guys were out the next day.
For the hospital.
Irrigation, they were able to turn off the irrigation system. Be in contact with, it's the private property owner needs to fix it, but they were able to turn the irrigation off and.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah, they follow up on the one that came.
Yeah.
And so the public does, I will say, they do a good job of using 311, because if they can see it and get a picture of it and put it in 311, I've had many comments that they were like, they were out here this day, I put it in 311 and they were out there. I can't promise we can always do that, but I will say the feedback from the public is that the team is on it, so.
It's good to hear. We're definitely, we do get a lot, and we try to address them as quick as we can. Yes, ma'am.
Said these are all things on city lines, not.
Correct.
townhouse.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So if we're doing 100 a month, is that what you said on the slide before?
Yeah.
45 and 50 something?
Mhm.
Does that mean we're like 6 months from the end of the road, or do they keep adding up
I'd
faster
love
than
to
we're
say.
fixing them?
I would love to say that, Chris. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case. It's, we are gaining. We are obviously gaining because, a year ago, we fixed well
Yeah.
over 1,000. But we are generating new leaks every single day.
So the number goes up every day and then we fix it.
It
every day.
does, and then, so we throw a bunch at it, and then we back up a little bit, and then we throw more at it, and so it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes, but we are generating new leaks every day.
What's the timeline on the contracts with the,
So they're yearly contracts. We're planning on renewing both contractors in November. I think November 20th is when this one's up, and this will be the 3rd year. So we will have to bid it again after this,
That's what-
after
so
27.
it will come up for bid after?
November of 27, if the need is still there, we will have to rebid.
I would also say on the homeowner side, utility billing has stepped up their notifications and,
They have.
well, and our homeowners have been very responsive on that end too, so.
And we're working with Mueller to actually tighten that up even tighter than it already is as far as the leak alerts on the meters. We've got a request in now to see if we can kind of shrink that window when the meter identifies a leak so that we can kind of notify a little sooner if we can.
This is great news.
Thank
Thank
Yeah,
you
Dave.
so much.
Yeah.
Good work, guys.
Thank you.
That's great.
And that's all I had.
So much.
Thank you.
Okay. The RFP for commercial real estate brokerage transaction and business recruitment services, Tyler?
Yeah, so I'm just here to answer any questions that y'all have about it, but really at a broad base. I know we've talked about our properties that we own as the city here a number of times over the course of the past few years. And as we reflected on it, we came to an understanding that, you know what, we really need to bring someone on board who's a subject matter expert in this to help serve the purpose of the strategic advisor. What's the highest and best use of some of these properties? How should we be marketing them? Like really helping to serve that side of real estate investment, but then also being that point of contact and our representative if we are entering into an agreement for a property sale, or if we are entering into agreement for a land lease and so on and so forth. So any actions they take would ultimately come before you all through that process. But it's really as opposed to us sitting around and trying to figure it out as we go. It was, let's bring on somebody who does this every single day of the week and serve as the city's advisor and point of contact through these things. Yes.
In terms of a timeline on when these properties are appraised.
So that's what we'd be establishing with this firm. Is like, what is the consistent process, both that's in the city's best interests, the customer's best interest, and then ultimately what's best practice based on what else is going on out there.
When was the last time those properties were appraised? When they were acquired or?
It varies based on the property. Some of them have been within the last 1 to 2 years. Others, it's been some amount of time. Which would be, I think, part of the initial discovery phase is providing all those previous appraisals to whatever firm we bring on board.
Also, we are getting ideas brought to us and
Mhm.
I think what we've come to it would be great to have an entity that does this all day long, kind of listening to those and then bringing towards you guys the best recommendations from that. I think there are also, the other thing we would, if there are properties that we would like to see certain things be addressed or whatever, we can give them that feedback. They can help. Try to make sure we find that right fit. So,
Yep. So, yeah, so let's say if the city did have property that we say it's already available, but we're looking for a tenant to fill it or a potential developer to redevelop it, that would be another piece that we would lean on this person for, is for business and developer recruitment purposes as well.
That's what I was going to mention. Would proactive economic development be the scope of what these folks would do?
Yep. I think a lot of their focus would be focused on city assets, city real estate. But yes, it is an ongoing conversation and thought process about, okay, how do we get more active with those properties that are privately owned as well?
That's great.
Yep.
Do you all have an RFP you're ready to send out, or?
This is a draft framework that I provided. We've still got to put it on our
You feel like
typical city format, but
yeah, well, and that's, tonight was to get some feedback from y'all if there's anything in that you
Yeah, that.
want to make
I
sure
didn't
that
see
is
anything.
included in that, but
That's-
hopefully we're pretty close with the RFP.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure is included is private development, recruiting businesses.
okay.
I think this is great. I did not feel comfortable with just taking offers and we didn't really have a good plan. And it's, we bring in consultants when things are kind of outside our scope of expertise. So I think this was such a great idea. I think this is definitely the way to go. So thank you for putting
course.
this together.
Any other questions for Tyler on this matter? Are you doing the bus stop update?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, no,
That's
ready. Mhm.
Going to give an update on the 26 bus stop program. We were installing bus stops at 4 different locations, which is what you had budgeted for us to do. The first one is at on J Street at the high school on the east side of the road across from the football stadium. And then there's 2 on I Street at 8th where the entry to the new park is. Both those stops on both sides of the road are getting heavy usage right now for pickups, so they're at the top of the list. And then the other one is at south on I Street to 102 where the Casey's is. So kind of across the street from Planet Fitness.
Mhm.
And those are the ones that are the top of the list right now. We have pretty good growth in the whole program, but those are the ones that are the top of the list for pickups. We've got those selected. Just wanted to give you an update on that. You'd earmarked money, $5,000 a site for them. Last year, we spent a little less than that, but at the end of the day, depending on just what the soil conditions are, we're estimating we'll still spend that amount. So I didn't know if you had any questions about that. Just wanted to give you a quick update on.
Metrics or insight on who's using the buses?
Because it's a free service, there's
Yeah.
no identification required to get off and on. The drivers are clicking a counter. So it's now, if you got to the point where they were charging for the service and we had cards and those things, we could do that. But right now it's just a head count.
Okay, very good.
The head count and the calculations that Dan explained to me a few days ago are so very well thought in order to determine the priorities that each one of those places have in the sense for the installation of structures that will make it easier for the passengers to occupy them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Those are the 4 locations. They'll go, get started on that. The goal is to have them done.
Yeah, we'll have them done
Close out
this year.
but.
Yeah. And they're good locations for us to work in too, because they're all in the right of way. So we already got property acquisitions and everything done.
I have a quick question since you're here, and I just noticed this yesterday. I noticed that we are putting in some new stops. There was a sign saying upcoming bus stop coming soon.
Yeah.
Does that change our kind of, I mean, are these happening? I mean, I was excited to see it because it feels like a good.
So
I just didn't know how that happened.
So ORT will,
under
I mean, they will put in bus stops. So I mean, there's also a program ORT is doing with the campus on where they're putting locations. So some of those are affiliated with some of that too. So I believe the stop you're talking about is on North Moberly at near Central. Yeah, that's one of those.
Okay.
One of the biggest pickup points is now in the middle of the David Glass parking lot because people on campus are parking over there to take the buses into campus.
Yes. Okay, so
We're
that's,
seeing a lot of pickup, and I think as you see development happening on that part of town, you're going to see more and more pickups. I did look at the new stops separately just to see if any of them were going to make it into the top 4 soon.
Mhm.
There probably will be one it's actually on the opposite side of the street from the one on J Street. So it's on the stadium side of the street is one that's growing quickly. Can't tell you who it is getting on there, but I'm assuming some students headed south as opposed to students headed north. So,
okay, that's good information. I just,
yeah.
we're standing here and I just saw. the
Oh, yeah,
sign
sure.
yesterday, so I was like.
no problem at all.
Interesting.
And I know there's a lot of excitement around the contract and what the amounts are this year. The board, I sit on the board and the board's just starting those discussions around what their budget looks like for next year with, they have fuel cost and all those things we'll get to hear about over the next few months as those numbers get published. But the board hasn't even been presented with proposals yet. So that'll happen soon.
Are we having any more discussions regarding an express route from Bentonville to Fayetteville?
There was a study on that and it looks like the thing that makes the most sense is an express bus route, not a light rail service or a heavy rail service. I mean, the cost for the rail services were, billion. One of them had a B number at the end of it. So those are big numbers. And I think you're going to see the express bus routes that primarily run up 71, which would kind of have it up the east side of Rogers and Lowell and Fayetteville, and then come across on probably 102 and then tie up into 8th Street is probably what that route. They've had a consultant reviewing that through Regional Plan Commission. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, time for the flock camera update.
Yeah, and before y'all start that, I do know we have some members of the public signed up too, so we need to talk through. Typically, we don't take public comment during committee of the whole, so we need to talk through that. I don't want to,
So we've been having it at the end. Is that what?
it'll be at the end of, after we do all of our voting agenda. It does say on the thing that, no votes are taken and public comment is not accepted during the committee of the whole on the agenda. But we do have people, the thought process was before we were doing really clear agenda items for committee of the whole. And so y'all can have a discussion about that. You might want to do it and make sure the public has the expectation if we're going to speak now or at the end of the meeting. And so I think, yeah,
Policies.
So at the end of the meeting? is
As
that our
long as
plan?
they have an opportunity to speak, I want everybody to have an opportunity to speak.
So we'll have the update now, and then anyone who wants to speak can speak at the end of the agenda. Public comment, is that right?
Yes.
I think it's what we did last week when Octavio asked for someone to speak.
It's at the end where, at the very end of the agenda,
Yeah,
it says public comments concerning matters of city-related business. That is for non-agenda items to be discussed.
yeah. And just to clarify the public, the intention behind 9 non-agenda items were the voting
Yeah.
agenda items, not committee of the whole agenda items. I do realize that is confusing and I just wanted to make sure I was aware, and we may figure out a better way to word some of this.
that's good.
Okay.
All right.
Where would you like me to begin on this? Are you wanting to just ask questions? Would you like me to overview? What would you like to see?
I think the overview that I've heard you give would be great, starting why this whole project started in the first place.
So flock cameras, the reason they came to be in our city is a couple of years ago, we were having concerns, our citizens were having concerns. We were having a lot of vehicles being broken into in our parks, Memorial Park, things like that. Through that, a group came and I believe they spoke with council or they spoke with at least David Wright and Chief Shasta was aware of it, of their concerns. So it was decided that we needed to find a way to try to reduce these break-ins. People were even saying they were afraid to go to their cars after soccer games because they were afraid someone would be in their car because they were being broken into while people were present. So they began to research what kind of companies were out there. I believe at the time Chief Shasted decided, or he located Flock as a kind of an up-and-coming new technology-based company that was kind of rising to the top. So we began to look into that and decided to move forward with Flock cameras. We do have loosely speaking, two different types of Flock cameras in our city. One is the one that we have at our parks. I'm not sure if Josh Stacy made it in here. I was gonna maybe he's online. Okay, I want to put him on the spot if I had to. But
There he is.
yeah. And if I'm correct, one of these styles of camera we have is more recognized kind of like a surveillance style camera. They're mounted on poles in different areas within our city. And I believe we have 18, is that correct?
Onward.
Yeah, and so we've got about 18 of those that are set up stationary in our parks. The other style that we have are going to be license plate readers, or you'll hear me probably call them LPRs. It takes a little less time. Those are the two different types that we have, and I'll discuss a little bit on both of these to give you guys a general understanding of how they both operate. The stationary ones, the condors, there's search parameters that can be set on each of these. They're continually running. They're continually recording. Whereas our LPRs are really taking photos as cars are driving by. It recognizes there's a car passing and a license plate. It'll take a photo of that and store it when another one goes by, and it's constantly taking those photographs. It's not necessarily continually running video. And we can go back and pull those up and actually flip through each of those if we had to, because we had an FOI wanting us to do just that.
If those ones that are in the parks that are constantly recording videos, those are just like you might see in a Walmart or something
Just
like that, right?
A standard
Those go
surveillance.
around everywhere we go.
They are. There is one, and I haven't dealt with Walmart cameras. I
don't mean Walmart
that in a long
specifically. I
time.
just mean any
Yes.
CCTV camera. That's basically what it is.
That's basically what it is. They are searchable, and I'm not sure with technology growing in I'm not sure if Walmart or other companies are searchable to this extent, but ours are searchable, and I'll cover those searches in just a moment. The way those work, like I said, they're just regular cameras. The license plate readers, just kind of go into those a little bit and help you understand more about what they do. As cars pass by these, the cameras recognize, they see the back ends of these cars, and that's really what we get is the back end of a car with a license plate. And there's things called hot lists that are out there. And there are several different categories of hot lists. And as an administrator, we go in and we could designate what is going to be flagged, what alerts we're going to get on these hot lists. City of Bentonville, the police department, we've determined there are only 5 categories that we're looking at on a hot list. And these hot lists are updated roughly every 5 hours and is tied in through the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC. That is fueled from what we or other agencies put into ACIC in Arkansas, which is the Arkansas Crime Information Center. So what that means is if we have a stolen vehicle, we will go at our dispatch center and they will enter the stolen vehicle license plate into the state system, ACIC. It will then be flagged in with NCIC together, and NCIC every 5 hours will take those and update those and push those in the Flock, just the license plate and the description of the vehicle, and say this vehicle is reported stolen. And so that way, if it picks up on a license plate reader, we can get an alert. The alerts that we get in the city of Bentonville are stolen vehicles, warrants, missing persons, missing children, and what was the other one? It's stolen vehicles and stolen license plates. I lump those two together a lot. Missing persons, missing children, and then warrants. And if a car's driving through town and we get an alert, the alert, I actually printed one off to kind of help you understand a little more about what they look like. It's very basic information. It's got the license plate. It's got the make, model, and color of the vehicle and where it was spotted at. Our LPRs that we have, license plate readers, they're mobile. We can move them to different locations based on complaints if we have to. But ours right now are kind of set at city limits. And if a car goes by and we get an alert, this will pop up in an email to our dispatch center. They're all signed in to get these alerts. And when this alert comes through, there's actually, this is an older alert that I printed, but there's actually a picture of the back of the car that goes with this. And so our dispatch center will then take this alert and they will enter a call for service and they will let our officers know, hey, we just had a stolen vehicle, a flock hit on a stolen vehicle, a white GMC Terrain with this license plate number on, say, North Walton, as an example, North Walton at Tiger Boulevard. And that now gives our officers a chance to begin to make their way in that direction. And what they're looking for is a white Terrain, because from all directions you can't see the license plate. So we're looking for a white Terrain first. When we see a white Terrain, we can get turned around, confirm the license plate as the one that was actually given during that call. If the license plate's not the same, then it's probably not the vehicle that was in the alert, and therefore no action is taken. If the vehicle does match the description and the vehicle does match the license plate, we're then going to run that through ACIC ourselves. We're going to take either in our cars or we're going to call it our radio to get confirmation that this is the case, that it is stolen. And when that's the case, then obviously we make stops at that point. If I know one of the concerns is misreads on license plates, but if you consider this information on a misread, our license plate readers are stationary. We can move them, but they're stationary. They're not on our cars reading as we drive around. So if our license plate reader says this license plate and this is the description, a white GMC Terrain, and it misread the license plate and says it's a white GMC Terrain, and I'm looking for a white GMC Terrain. If it was a misread, the GMC Terrain is not going to be there. So we're not going to stop somebody else, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making that clear enough. The information about NCIC is NCIC says this plate belongs to this car. Flock says, okay, this plate belongs to this car. So if it's a misread, then this is the car that Flock thinks it is. So if I go out and misread this 7 as a T, then I'm going to go out and I'm not going to find this vehicle because it's not going to exist on our street. It was a misread. So the fear of us making stops on misreads are really not feasible, because on the other side of that, if per chance we are behind a white Terrain or we get behind a vehicle that has a license plate that's similar to the one that was ran, we can then run that again to confirm the stolen. This is just a tool of our investigation, not our investigation as a whole. So that's kind of how the alerts work and the different alerts come through. Searches, that's hot list. Let me cover a custom hot list. Hot lists are nationwide. If California puts, or if California's, I don't know what it's called, like our ACIC, if they put a stolen vehicle in, it's going to appear on a hot list if that vehicle drives through my city. It's the state, it's an NCIC alert. But I can create what's called a custom hot list that our agency itself can generate, that's not tied into stolen vehicles and so forth. And we have a directive in place guiding on what can be put into that type of a custom hot list. We put serious violent, in fact, our wording is serious violent crimes. If we think that somebody has misdemeanor marijuana in their car, and we're not going to put in a hot list and say, hey, if you see this car, they probably have misdemeanor marijuana. That's not a serious violent crime for us. It's not a serious crime that we're going to enter a hot list for. An example of a hot list we put in, we had an attempted murder that took place in our city. We had a license plate of the subject that fled. We put that into Flock, and that license plate was read in Missouri. A Stone County deputy saw that pop up and hit. And when he saw it hit, he said, if they're hitting on this camera, they're going one place, one direction. And it was less than 2 hours. I think it was actually within an hour, but less than 2 hours for sure, we had an attempted murder suspect in custody simply because of entering that in the Flock. And that's a custom that we put in for our purposes. And once that is done, we pull that list, that custom hot list back out, and it's gone. Nothing's running on that anymore. So that's how custom lists work. If we're not sharing, the networks get shared together, different agencies share their networks. If I'm not sharing with another network, say Fayetteville, for example, if we're not sharing with Fayetteville and Fayetteville puts out a custom hot list and a car drives through my city, if we're not sharing with Fayetteville, they're not going to get that information that it's here. So that is only worked through shared networks between different agencies. Searches, the way searches work, we can, and this includes both the LPRs and the condors in our parks. If I know, say we have flock cameras all down our promenade, just as an example, and we have a stabbing on one end of our promenade, and we're told the suspect is wearing blue jeans and a white T-shirt, I can run a search in flock. I can call my dispatch center, hey, somebody go over and pull it up, because we're not constantly monitoring flock cameras. We don't have the manpower to do that. But dispatch can then pull up flock, look at it and say, hey, white T-shirt, blue jeans, and we will get the people that were on that promenade wearing white T-shirts and blue jeans, and we can now look and say, okay, we tracked the guy, stabbed somebody here. Let's watch him as he goes to our promenade. He just went in the store. Now we know where he's at in the store, and we can go find him. So that's the way the search parameters work. I can search. We have a breaking or entering, and somebody catches a red car with a sticker on the back. I can type in red car sticker on back windshield, and it's going to pull all the red cars that pass by with sticker on the back. And if it's located in this vicinity, we can then begin to track and say, okay, let's get the license plate on this car, and we now have a suspect. So that's kind of where those searches go in flock. Yes, sir.
Can you search for faces?
There is no facial recognition in flock. We can't put Councilman Grover's face and say, hey, we want to find this, or it's not going to see your face and then say, well, I want to track everywhere he goes, and then you end up in California and it says, we found him, he's over here. There's no facial recognition.
It's only license plates, clothes.
Characters, descriptions, things like that. Now, I guess if you're pretty creative and I could describe you like a sketch artist, maybe, but no, there's no facial recognition in flock. Yes.
Keep the data or the.
So we can do searchable data on site for 30 days. Outside of that, we have to go through flock and they send us the data. The state requires us to keep data for, I believe it's 180 days. Every 180 days, we have to do the last 6 months. No, we have to do every 6 months and keep the last 180 days is what state laws require us to do. If I'm quoting that correctly, but it's along that line. We can actually go in and tell flock we want to shorten that that period, or we can go in and tell them we want to extend it. It's just based on what our city feels our needs are, what our agency feels our needs are to maintain that data.
My concern is the misuse of it by individuals. How are we safeguarding this information from people that may legally have access to it, but are not using it in a manner that is appropriate?
If I would refer to my notes, I could have answered that question earlier. Sorry about that. We are in the process of writing an actual agency policy on this. We have a directive that tells us some things that we can do. We have an actual agency policy that we're going to work on. In that policy, we're outlining audit process. The software itself, when you log into Flock itself, there is actually, because there's so much of a concern, there is actually an audit page that gives you different audit features within that. In that audit, and we ran one the last couple of days, just kind of testing to see exactly what it looks like. And in that audit, it tells us who's running searches. It tells us they have to put a case number. It is a required field for a case number, it is a required field for a reason for the search, such as burglary, theft, homicide, so forth. So if we're seeing cases that are having incorrect case numbers, we're seeing cases that have no case numbers, which they can't run, or something weird in the case number, then that's things that's going to flag, and we're going to be able to pull that audit and see why this person is running those types of plates. So we do have an audit process that's in the software that we're going to start saving, probably run that audit about once a month. Yes?
Have it upheld the right of municipalities to use this technology?
As far as I know, there's no I know there's been some legal challenges, but I don't see any that specifically say, yes, you may use this, or no, you may not use this. I think the standard behind this is the idea of reasonable expectation of privacy. When you're on a public property, public streets, you don't have that reasonable expectation of privacy. I know there is a concern for a particular case that happened here a little while back concerning cell phone geofences, running search warrants on geofences, and they classify that as a search. But that is a little more private and personal because I'm actually taking your cell phone and I'm running specific to your cell phone and running a geofence around your cell phone to see where you are constantly. And that's not this case. These are only going to track you if you drive past it. We only have 5 in our city right now. So chances of you driving, if we had one at every intersection, I might can understand saying, yes, we're tracking everywhere, every movement you're making. But that's not the case here.
The
So
license plate reader.
5 license plate readers, yes,
Across the city, like
across the
in
city.
the city limits.
the only other condor we have are in the parks, or do we have more of those?
The condors, the Parks and Rec are the only condors that we have. And we say Parks and Rec. I know Deputy Director Stacy back here is the only one that has that privilege to get into flock through Parks and Recreation. We maintain a lot of that. We do a lot of that security watches on that. We're the ones that utilize those cameras more than they do. But the only condors we have are going to be tied in with the parks. The city doesn't have one like out in front of City Hall, things like that. And the police department only has the 5 that we technically, LPRs that we run per se.
5 we have are on major roadways. I'm guessing they're not like.
They're on major, in fact, one of them's, they're typically at our city edges, our city. So that way if someone, violent, such as someone with warrants, stolen cars, things like that are coming in our city, we can track those coming in as they enter.
We've had a few comments like there's one at the end of my street or there's one pointing at my house, but just to be clear, we're not putting cameras on residential streets.
We're at this point, unless they moved one recently, I don't believe we have any on residential streets. Could they be placed there? Depending on
Could,
the circumstance. If we've got a situation where we've got a violent issue at a house, someone who's constantly stalking another person that we fear that's going to go further and we never can catch the person there, could we place one at the end of a city street? And just so that way, if they end up in that neighborhood, we can pounce on it. Yes, that could be possible. But typically they're movable. We typically leave them stationary.
Still, it's only taking pictures of the backs of their cars.
It's taking pictures of the backs of their cars. It's not video surveilling people as they go by.
So why or why not would this not be used for hit and runs?
It
Because
can,
that seems to be very common.
it can be, and maybe I wasn't clear enough on my alerts. If we have a hit and run where we have a description of a vehicle and they say, hey, it's a work truck with a toolbox on the back that has damage to the rear tail light. We can plug that into Flock and it'll run a search, and it will find if it's picked up on any of our cameras. We'll know where it is, and it will get the back of that vehicle and get that license plate off that vehicle for us. It won't be an automatic. It won't be an automatic hot list like NCIC puts out, but it is a search feature that we can do to search for that type of
I
vehicle.
actually had that occur to me.
Yes.
Thankfully, the person who hit and ran, who was also drunk, had a warrant out for his arrest.
Yeah, it can be used for that purpose, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
And just to clarify, we do have security cameras at City Hall,
Yeah.
and you are also being currently recorded because we have to record our meeting.
I mean, we do not have a flock.
So if you're at a public meeting, you are being
Outside, yes.
recorded
We have
because that's
surveillance.
mandated. So I
Yeah,
just
we have
wanna
lots
make
of
sure
surveillance.
We have lots of, yeah.
We have surveillance in our police department in the lobby to a different company. So yes, just not. Flock.
So private businesses can also have flock cameras, is that correct?
So they can, but the way those work, for instance, one of the major ones in our city is Lowe's.
Yeah.
Lowe's has flock cameras, but we have to enter into an agreement with Lowe's to have access to those cameras. And as of this point, we do not have an agreement with any private companies at this point to view their flock cameras. But Lowe's is the only one I'm really aware of because they kind of do that nationally.
So Lowe's or any company wouldn't be able to take your license plate picture and search it through Flock's database?
No.
Okay. So they're mostly just surveillance.
The other people can't search our database unless we allow them permission. And Lowe's, again, we would have to enter into an agreement with Lowe's for them to search our database.
And Flock.
I don't
into
think
an
they-
agreement with them.
Flock, they
Directly.
are in agreement with Flock, but they still can't search our database without, because the information we have in our database is ours. It's not Flock's.
You're talking about the NCIC and the ACIC.
The NCIC, even custom hot lists or things like that. If another agency puts in a custom hot list, or even searches a truck with a toolbox on the back, if we're not associated with that agency, then they will not get a hit off of cameras in our city.
So what are they getting 30 days later that we would have to go back to Flock to get?
So that could be anything from if, say, you have a break-in in the middle of the night in a city, and somebody don't realize it initially. They go out to their car and they're like, my dome light was on. That's kind of weird. And they just go to work. 4, 5, 6, 7 days later, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm missing a firearm out of my console. And so they start looking back at their Ring camera and say, hey, I saw a white truck like this pass in front of my house and somebody got out and took something out of my car. Now we can take that search for the last 7, 10, however many days to see if we see a vehicle matching that description that has came through our city. So that is where the audit side is where we would look back for audit purposes.
But you would not have license plates in that case, so how could you do that? I thought you had to have the description of the vehicle and the license plate.
If I can run a generic search on white trucks with a red toolbox, and it's going to pull all those trucks up, where we get the license plate is when it passed by a Flock camera, it says, here's a white truck with a red toolbox, and the license plate will appear on the back. So if I have a general description of the vehicle, I can run that. And again, this is used as an investigative tool. If we see a white truck with a red toolbox, there's probably plenty of them around Bentonville. We're not going to go get an arrest warrant, arrest this person. We're going to take maybe the next step, maybe run the license plate, maybe reach out and talk to them just to see where they've been in the area or whatnot, and just use it as a lead like we would anything else, not necessarily as the grounds to arrest someone.
Another concern I've heard is concern around the security of the information, meaning it's transferred wirelessly, it's easy to hack into, things like that. Can you speak to the security?
The security of the system, I can't speak in detail truly on the security of that system. Just in the sense that I can't get into their back door and say, hey, this is what security is running and so forth. That's outside of my side of the expertise. They do, when they come to us and they're selling their product, they talk to us about their security measures, the different things that they have put into place to control that security and to lock down that security. But that is through their security measures. And that's outside. Maybe an IT person could speak better to that, not me.
Did our director of technology, Dennis, did he have a look at it?
And again, I can deal off of secondhand information that I believe that it was said he had looked at it and thought that the security that was used seemed like top-notch security. But again, that's secondhand information. I can't confirm that information.
I do have Dennis online if you ask.
Dennis, are you online?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to address in terms of security is there are certain specifications and accreditations that we look at when we're looking at software. One of them, which Tavia may be familiar with, is SOC 2 compliance. So SOC 2 compliance is a security standard where an organization has to go through a very detailed list of requirements in terms of operating their security measures, how they protect the data, how the data is shared, how the data is actually secured, access control levels. So there is a industry standard that SOC 2 kind of covers, and that's one of the things that we look for when we are actually, in this day and age where sharing the information with the cloud. That is one of the baselines that we look for. So I can tell you that looking through their information, they are a SOC 2 compliant organization. It does require security audits annually, and they do have certificates out there for accreditation for that standard. So that's one of the base standards that we do look for. Like the chief mentioned, they are not us, so I can't say for their absolutely for their practices. But to get SOC 2 compliance, you do need to have regularly audited practices and operations within an organization. So I can actually speak for that aspect. So just wanted to kind of clarify that on the security concerns of log as storing the data itself.
Are you saying slot two?
SOC.
SOC.
SOC. Yeah. And you're welcome to look it up. You'll find a whole bunch of information about it. But yeah, it is a security standard, and it's kind of one of the standards we look for when we're sharing information with agencies, or if they're holding that information itself on our behalf.
I do have a couple other things I did want to bring up that are in my notes to kind of help. When we talk about entering custom hot lists, and I talked about what, we look at serious violent crimes is what we enter the hot list on. Those are restricted to who has access to enter those. Not everybody in our agency could just jump out and enter a custom hot list. There's actually permissions within the software that restrict that to certain groups, which are going to be supervisors. Our dispatch center can, but only at the urging of the on-shift lieutenant or member of command staff. Is where those custom lists can be entered. There are permissions that get set within the software as well. Patrol officers can only search certain locations. They're pretty much restricted to Arkansas itself, whereas your investigators, analysts, and so forth can reach out a little further when doing investigations in searches of other agencies. And the last of those things that I failed to mention earlier, there's a concern about Bluetooth connection to these devices. The Bluetooth connection that are on some of these devices are designed to communicate with their external battery service to communicate, hey, the battery's good, it's in bad shape, or needs to be replaced with things like that. It's not a Bluetooth, it's actual low frequency one. That's not a system where Bluetooth is going to tap into your phone and try to get into your phone and access your data. That's not the direction that Bluetooth operates. And so they don't get in there and sell data because the data doesn't belong to Flock, it belongs to us. And we as a city don't sell data as well. Did I cover everything or any other questions? Yes.
Interagency contracts, you're going to share that. Aren't those brought to city council if we're interagency agreement? That may be more a legal question than it is.
And it's not an interagency agreement as far as we sign MOUs and we work in that process. What happens is we send a request to Fable, hey, we're expanding our Flock network. Can we have access to where we can run searches and they'll hit your cameras and you can run searches and hit our cameras? And that's really where it goes there. It's not necessarily a contracted agreement that we have to sign any type of MOUs or anything. It's just part of being part of Flock. We can request those from other agencies.
The data is.
As far as what other agencies do with data?
Type of protocol or standards for utilizing those kinds of technologies between agencies.
The data that we're sharing with other agencies is, it's not necessarily, it's data in the sense that if our camera picks up a car driving by, they can access it, see that license plate was the one that they searched for. They don't have access to live view our Parks and Rec condors. I've been auditing them, making sure that we have all the permissions in place. In fact, right now, they can't even request to do live views on our live cameras. So the data they're going to get is when they run a search, is if a car passed by one of our LPRs, and all it's going to give them is, yes, this license plate, this hit or whatever was on Bentonville's camera located at this location. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
All right.
Okay. That concludes our consent agenda items. We can discuss our committee items. We can discuss a consent agenda that would be for new business items 7 all the way through 15. We need a motion to,
I move that we add items 7 through 15 under new business to the consent agenda.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7 through 15, everybody good? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole.
Can I
Oh,
request something just for next committee of the whole?
yeah.
You know, planning is bringing some, amendments to the plan. And some of it will have to do with parking, and I would like to have a discussion about parking, the parking requirements. We'll kind of have the discussion with one of the properties, the PUD today, but, in the plan, we're allowing for pretty significant reductions in the needed parking down for if it's close to a transit spot, or if it has public art, or if it has, if it's close to the greenway, which I think is setting us up for, the city to have to step in and provide that parking at a later date, and will exacerbate our parking issue. And I did not realize that was in there, when we voted on it. It's something that I think we need to maybe, look at a little bit closer and really find out what are these exemptions that are being given to parking, and what impact that might, actually have. And I'm kind of curious everybody else's thoughts on parking reduction.
I have similar concerns on the same subject. For example, when the facility or the building being developed is for a senior retirement facility, it reduces the demands on parking to zero, which is they are not obligated to have any parking at all on those types of facilities. I think we approved those parameters some time ago in a very generous manner, and probably it's time to go and review them.
Yeah, I think there was just so much with land use and zoning, and I think maybe, yeah, that's just one we didn't maybe look at quite close enough, or I didn't have a full understanding of what was approved there. And so I think it needs a closer examination of what we're actually giving this for.
Parking requirement agenda item 2 can be upheld. Good.
I would like to piggyback on this. I have asked for a study of public parking to see what ratio of handicapped accessible parking we provide on city properties or parking garages. And I would just like to address that a little bit and make sure that we are providing access to our parking facilities.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn for the new business portion of tonight? Or to convene, sorry. All in favor? All right, so we will go with new business, and first on the list is our July 26th Commercial Landscape Award, 200 East Central. I don't know if we have representatives here or not. From the back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the Compton. So I want to say thank you for the landscaping, and would you like to comment on any of it? Or?
Thanks for appreciating.
Get a picture real quick, if that's okay?
Did it survive First Friday? It looked really good.
Mhm.
I need a water gun.
Get out of the way. I was like, I'm still gonna be photobombing this no matter where I move.
Our residential.
Did they put a background behind it?
They should do that. That's right. You need a little. They're on a beach somewhere.
Jesus.
So last time we discussed that you may want to figure out how we can do landscape awards with work committee.
Yeah, that would be.
Now you know what you knew, what you didn't know.
We'd like to thank our neighbors, Drew and Candy, for nominating us.
They're the best, they're the best neighbors and the best yard in the neighborhood, Windermere Woods.
Nice, wonderful.
So we did see a picture of it, but if you would like to say anything about. You want to have them come in?
Yes, and I would like that, not for.
Oh.
We don't love the camera.
We're gonna do a couple of different phones.
Thank you.
It's in the, there is one in the agenda.
We should put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Should always pull it up.
Do that next time, Tanner. Come on, Tanner.
Tanner's gonna show it.
Okay, item number 3 is an ordinance amending the property.
There it is. Yay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Item number 3 is an ordinance amending the property maintenance regulations.
New business item number 3, an ordinance amending Bentonville Municipal Code, Chapter 76, property maintenance to establish an exemption for managed landscapes and for other purposes.
Question
People.
on this on the proposed amendments plural. I'm all in favor of trying to find some way that we can allow these type of habitats and protecting, our native habitats, but some of the setbacks and some of those restrictions I think are cumbersome, and I'm concerned that we're adding additional regulations we don't need.
I'd like to
Because
discuss
you wanna-
alongside of that, I want to make sure that we are doing something we actually even need to do. From my research, I'm concerned that we might not even need to have an ordinance like this because we already have the ordinances in place to measure how tall the grass is and things like that. Watch out for weeds and things like that. I don't know that we need an additional ordinance for this. If we decide we do, then I think the ordinance as it's written has some challenges. And we need to make sure those are addressed before we approve it.
Okay, well, Shelley, do you want to come speak? So and I want to commend Shelley because she's been
Yes.
trying
We
to
asked
listen
her.
to everybody. And we
Yeah.
did say,
Yeah, we
please
did ask
get a
her.
hold of her if you want to have changes to this or, and so what you see before you, all the information she was given, I think was put into that to try to come up with what you're seeing tonight, but.
But she did ask us to discuss it here. Right, that's what the feedback I got was.
So
if
when
you
we-
have any concerns about it, discuss it.
Right. When we presented to you Committee of the Whole back in June, we presented, some of the requests that was originally made by the Tree and Landscape Advisory Board. It had started a couple years ago. It's been in the discussions, and they asked if they could revisit that. So we brought that to you, presented the information that we had as far as some of the kind of conditions that we were seeing, as well as what we were seeing in other ordinances and surrounding communities. And when I presented that to you, you asked us to bring back to you a draft ordinance of something that we feel is legally defensible and that we would be able to enforce. And so that's what we've prepared based on the last conversation that we had. The ordinance that we have in front of you is essentially that. We've put that together. The biggest shift maybe from when we were talking about it last time is that we needed to make sure that it's relatively easy to enforce for code enforcement officers. So we tried to remove having to understand and know plant materials, native plants, pollinator plants, those type of things. Makes it a little bit more challenging for the code enforcement officers to be able to go out there. So we've tried to broaden that a little bit.
I'm no expert on native plants, but it's my understanding when we over mow some of these landscaping, plantings, that you kill the opportunity for them to regenerate. And I also think that the setbacks are gonna be a little bit awkward in that you've got a 5-foot setback, and if you've got tall plant sunflowers or whatever else that could be reasonably tall, it's gonna encroach in the middle of your yard where you may have to keep it trimmed up or. So just, I don't know that we really need a 5-foot setback.
And we put the setback provision in place due to some concerns last time about, for that reason, about plant material encroaching on neighbors. So that's why we put that in the way that we did. And ultimately, like, and Shelley said this, but we tried to come forward with the ordinance that we feel is enforceable, is legally defensible, and understandable by the people who are actually going to go out and do it on a daily basis, while also considering all the feedback from you all, from Tree and Landscape Committee along the way.
So can we not accomplish the same thing with the clearly delineated edging or turf that we would with a setback?
The reason that we're concerned is because we have had feedback that makes some good points, including some specific photos of things that would be in danger should we pass this ordinance that are actually things we would want. And so I think that's what we're concerned about, is that we're over regulating unnecessarily, and the unnecessary consequences or the unintended consequences of that we don't want to happen, that we're just now processing. So I appreciate all the work that you've done on this. We just don't want to do something that we're then going to have to walk back, or we're going to get plant complaints. Why did I have to cut this, but my neighbor didn't? Or this is, so that's why we want to have the conversation.
Yeah, and that's really what that was for, is we'll bring something forward to you. If you decide at this time that is not a direction you want to go, that's an option. If you want to, like what you see, want to go ahead and prove it, that's an option. Or if you like some of it and don't like other pieces of it, we can always come back with a revised ordinance too. We would just need to know specifically what you would want changed within the proposed ordinance. So there's several options here. It was really just to kind of get the conversation.
I'd like to see us revise it. I don't want to not allow it, but I do think we need to kind of look at this again.
Well, I want to understand why we need it in the first place.
So
I agree that, we asked you to go do it, but now that we've researched, I want to understand why do we need this?
this was a request that was made by the Tree and Landscape Advisory Board to find a way, because we have regulations right now that do not allow grass or weeds above 8 inches. The Tree and Landscape Advisory Board has requested that we find a pathway for people who want to do more native grasses, pollinators, some of those type of things that sometimes can be confused with weeds, or native grasses that would fall under the grass category and would have to be mowed down to meet that 8 inch. So I don't know that I can say that it's needed. We were requested to put something together so there would be a path forward for people who do want to do this.
Isn't it just as simple as defining what grass is?
Like turf grasses.
Yeah.
That could be
There's
an option.
That is an option.
Whatever the other kinds are.
I think one of the concerns, and I was actually the one that brought this up last time in the meeting, but of the right of way between the curb and the sidewalk, but the way you've written it, and I appreciate you doing that. But it's been pointed out to me a couple times this week that the city might in fact be violating its own ordinance, because in fact, I think our award winner probably from the Compton has stuff in the public right of way that is native. So I don't want to do something that's, and I like Bright Road comes to mind. Like, are we going to violate our own ordinance by having native plantings along the side of Bright Road, for example?
So I think that question is kind of.
I don't want us to be violating our own
What
ordinance.
I think we talked about is those are all part of they're planned bioswales, they're planned.
Correct.
And so I think that's
Engineered facility.
yeah, so that's
So what it,
how those are,
Well,
yeah, so
so that, I don't
so
know.
like Thaden School, for instance, I know that's one example people point to. That was part of their stormwater plan for the project itself. So those we have historically classified slightly differently than what you're talking about.
like a residential street that doesn't go through large scale would be affected by this. So maybe we just need to be more specific, like in those terms. I don't know, but
Was
this, I
was
don't
the
know.
point of this because we're concerned about lines of sight? Because I think that there are going to be places that when we're, we're in our vehicle and we're coming up and we can't see around the corner, that I think everyone would agree this is a
Yeah.
problem because of line of sight.
We technically already have that
We
in
are-
place.
Right.
We actually already do that. This was mentioned at the last committee of the whole meeting. That was one of the items that you all had requested, is to not allow it within the public right of way.
But we also already provide that we can't obstruct drainage ditches. We have to keep those mowed and taken
Right.
care of. We can't obstruct those.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out which parts of these details are really needed.
I see that it's not needed. If we need to define what grass is, so folks who want to grow specific types of grass that can get taller than 8 inches, then let's do that. But I don't know that I hear anything more that we need to do besides that.
Who's going to enforce this? Do we have a code officer that's going to be trained to determine what
Well,
native
there are-
plants
so,
are,
and
but they're
the
not?
other
Are we
piece-
gonna have to go out and
the-
start testing grasses everywhere if they let them
So,
grow more than 8
That
inches?
that
The-
was
the
one
other piece
design
of this
we
is
did.
that, and we discussed this when we brought it before, is that this is complaint driven. And so that's the city where, if we get a complaint, we look at our code and we match the complaint to the code, right? And so that's what we're trying in this instance to come up with something so people can continue, because we don't want to go say you have to cut every natural grass down to that. And so that's what we're trying to develop here. I understand the concerns and the caveats, and every time we have the discussion, there's a new caveat that people think about, right? And
Right.
we're trying to account for, and so
Is it out of the complaints that we get where code enforcement goes out and asks the people to mow and they mow, how many of those have been people saying, oh, this is a native grass yard? I mean, we know of the one.
We
Is
we
that
received one this year.
So this is not actually a problem.
We have one complaint.
This isn't, I do want to clarify, this isn't in response to that complaint. This has
I
been.
know you were already working.
Yeah,
on
I
it.
just want to
get
make sure
that.
that's
We're just
clear.
trying to
We were
figure
not
out
doing
how
that
we-
based on just one complaint. I share that information so that you were aware that, yes, we do have one complaint, but that's all we've had this year in regards to any type of native landscaping.
So the question, again, back to Councilmember Grover's point, is do we need this?
so I
If
would,
it can be
the only thing I
allowed
would say
without
is
changing the code, why do we need a new
one
list of regulations?
one complaint may be specific to natural landscapes. We have about 300 cutting your grass complaint in
Right,
311.
Right,
now.
I was
So-
just being.
So I just want us to make sure,
We continue to have that.
Right.
This doesn't change
That-
anything about that. So that's something that our code enforcement is still having to go out and say, cut your grass and fine you if you don't. But if the response is, no, we're lazy and we don't want to cut our grass, we fine them. If the response is, hey, listen, we're working on something here, that's a different story that we may need to just say to the complainant, sorry, they're working on something that we allow.
There's an exemption if.
I think that.
Which is what we've tried to set forward,
That
is
should be
spell out what that
clear
exemption
without
is.
okay. So we did bring this to you before and asked, do you want us to pursue? So
You're
it
right.
is right now you're saying we shouldn't do anything. I just want to clarify, I'm understanding what,
We want to be sure it's allowed. Now, we could,
so
I don't know that we have to attach all.
I do like the idea of having it back behind some sort of border or some sort of landscape so that it's not the whole entire yard and right away where there's some, like if a armadillo is going to run out, you're going to see it, like if you're walking your dog. I think having the whole thing covered in this native, I think that's where it does become a safety factor. I mean, obviously, Shelley heard what we were saying, and I think having these designated areas are great, but I think having designated areas is great.
We have some people.
I spent about an hour yesterday with Shelley discussing the situation, and we found at least a couple of items. Well, to begin with, the purpose of the regulation. It is to establish a clear form of addressing the problem that we have. Not only the problem that exists today in the sense of one complaint or one request from the Parks Department, but also the future. What do we want to do with? There is a increasing interest on native plants. So there has to be some guidance. And this is a presentation from the planning department, Shelley and Tyler, in the sense of doing this. Now, one of the, there are serious considerations that were brought by one of our citizens, and it indicates, for example, a picture where there is a fence made of bushes, and that it is right next to the property line. And that will be, apparently will be illegal. But Shelley clarified to me that those are not grasses. They are actually bushes. And bushes are exempted. If they are grasses, then they will be bad. But at least for the picture.
Grasses. Like, that's what I'm saying. There are beautiful ornamental native grasses that may be perfect along the edge of the property line that would not be allowed because of the term grasses, just the general term grasses.
Well, and if you look at here, it says other amendments are proposed to clarify owner's responsibilities better, define noxious weeds, establish clearance heights, trees, et cetera, but I don't see those other details here.
They are, they're in the ordinance.
They're under the ordinance.
They're under the ordinance section. They are at, kind of on that first page of Exhibit A, under subsection B. It talks about ownership responsibility as well as tree clearance. And that is, the tree clearance in particular is something that we have, it's in the community code, which is not a good fit for it. We're just moving into property maintenance.
It says the setback is not required where the management landscape area abuts another similar managed landscape area or others. This is section 1, talks about the front, the sides, and the rear of the property lines. One item that I discussed with Shelley yesterday was that we should not be messing with the rear property line. It belongs to the citizens, and let them have whatever they want to in their backyards. This is, we need to concentrate obviously on the sides and regulate also the front. So if we remove the rear property line in the sense of the 5 feet landscape, we are only concentrating on the sides. And as I said, if the sides are bushes, as the one in the picture that came in the email, a very well documented email, by the way. So we are not imposing anything that will be abusive on the system. Now, number 4, it says, if the landscape cannot be located within right of ways.
To the next one. Carla, we talked about this, the two that in the rear, and kind of, can you explain how you got to that recommendation?
So the reason why we added that setback for side and rear property lines specifically dealt with the buffering from adjacent property owners. That's why we put that perimeter bordering in place. To utility easements, like if let's say there's a utility easement or a drainage easement in the rear, that is also covered under A4, which is where we say not located within public rights of way or easements.
Yes. What I talked to Shelley is that if we remove the right of way condition, then we are allowing essentially everything to a certain degree that happens on the space between the sidewalk and the street, which are hundreds and hundreds of examples, some of them beautiful properties on 5th Street, the northwest side of 5th Street, beautifully developed and landscaped by our citizen Haney over here. And so if we remove the right-of-way condition, then all of those properties are within the code. We will not be concerned about. And as I said, I'm totally in favor of not having so many laws, so many regulations, so many things. One item that I discussed with Shelley is how deep this has to be And how demanding will it be for the code enforcers, for them to have a master's degree on determination of grasses and this and that, the whole thing? We don't need that. We just have to go through the basic elements that will guide the normativity that has to be within the city in order for us to contain abuses of the growth that we are experiencing in the city. So if we were to remove the right of way on point number 4, then the properties that Mark mentioned are clear, are good. If we were to remove the rear property lines, and if we are considering that bushes are permitted and they are exempt, so as long as it is properly delineated and not invading the neighbor's property, then I think it is good. And as I said, it will establish the normativity that has to be in place for the future development.
So I'm going to speak on behalf of our staff. The right of way. So one concern is that if you remove that, we are encouraging stuff in the right of way. And if we have to go in and do anything with the infrastructure there, then the cost to replace whatever's in the right of way. And so that is a concern for us. Now, what I think a lot of people may or may not know, because we get a lot of calls about it, is the property owner should maintain, to the curb, right? And so people don't understand that, because and there are instances where we maintain it because maybe there's a drainage ditch that we think is unsafe and the city is actually maintaining it. But really the property owner is to do that. And they would also, if we have to get in there and fix something in the ground, they're going to be responsible. The city's not financially responsible for replacing whatever's on top of it. They are. And so I understand what you're saying. I think that's just making sure that's very clear with the public. That is hard the public to understand. And we run into that all the time on the back end, because we have to get in and dig something up, and our goal is to replace it but if we're going to be responsible for replacing expensive landscaping or different things in that. So it's a challenge, because I agree with you. I think some of the things I've seen are beautiful. If the expectation is the city has to get in there and we have to replace whatever that is, and not just with
Is that
sod, I
mentioned
think
at
it's gonna be
all?
a challenge.
Is any of that concerns in here?
I see it.
I'm sorry, which concern?
Well, that's why we were saying,
Right,
keep it out of the
right.
right of way. That's why we were saying that, is for some of those concerns on the back end. So
So would
That
it-
was also recommended. There were a few council members that wanted us to not allow it in the right of way at the committee of the whole.
would it be better to just say that homeowners are responsible for
We-
their own right of way?
We do. We've added that in, if you're under section B, it's on the first page of exhibit A. It's that subsection 3.
and it's always
I'm sorry,
been
it's
that
in
way. I will just
2.
say, from
Section 2.
dealing with owners on the back end, a lot of them don't realize that. So I just want y'all to realize that the more that goes in those, when we replace them, that's the conversation we're having with homeowners, is that they're responsible. If we have to go dig it up, we dig it up, we don't replace it. And so just
It's B2. B2.
This proposal from Shelley came because we requested it. So we have it. It seems that we don't like it the way it is. So we need to indicate to Shelley and Tyler and everybody else, what do we need to change in here, or how do we need to move it and not completely reject it, because there has some ideas that were already thought over the last couple of months that Shelley has spent and her team has spent on this presentation that she's given to us.
To speak on this, that may have some ideas for that. So I think we probably should let them speak.
I suggest that we table this item for another occasion. After we listen to the citizens that are gonna do a presentation, we may have a better understanding. Instead of rejecting it, just postpone it, just delay it and change it according to what it is, better understanding that we may not have at this moment. And then, so I move that we table this for a future occasion, and after we have a better understanding of the thing.
Can I make one request? If you do table it, which is perfectly fine, please indicate exactly what changes you're wanting. If we just table it and we don't know what you want changed, we don't know how to bring a new ordinance back. So very specifics as far as what
I
you
meant
want changed.
table it for a future discussion.
Gotcha. Okay.
We just want to make sure when we bring it back, we have a clear understanding. Does council wants to be more permissive, less permissive? What are the things in here that need to be changed based on public feedback and based on tonight's discussion?
Yes.
So let's do this. Let's hear from public comment on this. And I believe, Mark, you're up. If you would state your name and your address and keep it to 3 minutes or under, we would appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. Mark Haney, 848 Northwest C Street. Thanks for hearing me out. I might be the only one that read this ordinance in full. I love plants. Y'all know that. Flowers, grasses, shrubs, trees, all of the above. As far as I can tell, talking with many of you about this, there were some really good intentions that went into this. And it's a niche interest, right? It's an interest of mine. I don't expect all 8 of you to share that interest or the public broadly speaking, but we have some fantastic native plants all around town in public rights of ways, around the square, at the Compton, in private yards, all over the roof of an awesome medical center. Like they're great native plants all around town. Our current code allows them. You know, I'm all for you need to mow your lawn. No argument from me on that. And I don't think anyone is objecting to that. So existing code covers our bases on, you know, if someone is negligent, you know it when you see it. I don't think there's any doubt about negligent actors out there. Sightlines at intersections, we have code about those. No issue with that. On large scale projects, engineering, all the departments look at what may be proposed in right of ways. They make sure it's appropriate heights, appropriate maintenance agreements, et cetera. The occasional bad actor out there, the city is empowered to go cut whatever may be in right of ways where there are legitimate safety issues or otherwise. My understanding is those are extremely rare. I'm not saying they don't happen, but it seems like, again, there are a lot of great intentions here to address a problem that may be extremely small. And so I'd encourage y'all to put this on the shelf. I mean, I would love to see an awesome code that goes, we want more native plants. We want to see stormwater mitigation and drainage ditches and that kind of thing. I don't know that there's broad consensus on that from y'all or from the engineering department and others. And so for now, I just say, you know, there's a couple private matters out there, some private complaints. Let those remain with private people. Public right-of-ways, y'all maintain them well. I'm not aware of a large number of issues in public rights of ways, but the city is empowered to deal with those today. And I want to be a resource to you. So what I can help with tonight outside of this meeting, happy to help. I am not an expert on this, not a trained landscape architect. It's a natural curiosity I've followed, learning from some great engineers I've worked with, great architects. Worked on, had an architect that proposed to me a no lawn landscape 4 or 5 years ago. You know, it was a lot that made sense. It was a sloped into the cul-de-sac kind of forested lot, so it was never going to be a big open yard anyway. Made sense. That got me, you know, I did that. Looked awesome. Homeowners love it. And just kind of kept following that. Walking through Compton Gardens, I go, ooh, you know, they've got the signs on the plants. It's like, that inspired me at my own home. I'm like, ooh, I want to, that's a cool plant. Let me try that. So again, I'm not an expert, not a trained engineer, landscape architect, but I think, you know, my own journey was natural inspiration. I hope that others have that, whether it's from the public library, the square, Compton Gardens, private yards. You know, let them plant the cool flowers, the cool grasses. If a few years from now we've got big problems with, you know, armadillos or snakes or sightlines or whatever it may be, maybe we need to address it in the future. But right now, you know, y'all got a lot of stuff on your plate. The city has a lot of things on the plate. Focus on the bigger issues. And
public comments reach 3 minutes.
I'm here to be a resource, but I'd encourage you to put this on the shelf.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Any other discussion? I think we would like to, our staff would like to get direction because like I said, I think we were here before and the direction was to go put this together. So we would like to know, I think staff would like to know so they don't continue to work on it. So.
Like, I'm still struggling to see the
This was a resident request,
No, not
right?
requested.
like,
Parks.
was it, okay, but there was like,
Landscape.
the last time we talked about this, there were a whole bunch of people here saying, yay, please do this, please do this, please do this. I think that's what we need to remember.
was-
Like,
it was
this wasn't
people-
like our idea.
It was people talking about wanting to make sure that we
They
could
couldn't
continue
do
with
it.
natural,
Yeah, like,
and so,
So-
Restriction.
yeah, that's what it's turned into. So I still fail to see the reason we need this at all.
I think if I can, I think Shelley and I were just talking about this a little bit. I think part of the reason we came back and wanting to more explicitly define what's allowed versus what's not is if you read the existing code, which I know it's in cross through, it says prohibit the growth of weeds and grass in excess of 8 inches. So what we were trying to do is come back and say, okay, what's exempt from that 8-inch requirement and better defining, okay, native grasses, pollinator flowers, all these other things that, you know, to the average member of the public who's typing into 311, submitting a complaint, they're going to hit us up and say, well, that's a weed or that's grass in excess of 8 inches. You need to go enforce that. You need to go mow that down. So what we were trying to do is clearly define the difference between native grasses and then just grasses and weeds generally. So it's, yes, they were allowed, but it was more of an interpretation that we were making. It wasn't explicitly allowed.
If we left it at this definition, but don't add all the
I
additional
agree.
requirements.
That could be an option. I heard it discussed a second ago, why don't we just define turf grass versus native grass and these other things? That could be an option.
Another way of seeing this, the regulation or the regulation as it is presented, if we were to eliminate completely point number 1, who does, it talks everything about the setback, 5 feet setback. If we eliminate it completely, item number 1, as well as number 4, which is not located within public right of ways or easements, then everything else will be the same that we have today. I think item number one on the section of maximum height, item number 1 and item number 4 are the ones added to the request. So if we eliminate those, then it will be essentially the same code that we have in a more clarified manner.
We already have it in the code. We
That's what I'm
already-
saying. It'll be essentially the same, but in a clarified manner that includes the responsibility of the owner, which I don't know if it is already there.
So, and I know right now it's this one big paragraph here, so it looks like a lot of red and a lot of changes. But to the point that's being made is a lot of it is just in a matter of splitting this out into multiple line items, multiple sections, but then also making clear, like, for instance, like this first clause here, property owners are responsible for maintaining all premises or lawns, including that portion of the public right of way adjacent to their property. To Shelley's point a second ago, that's talked about or referenced up top, but this explicitly makes clear, no, you're responsible for your premises, lawn, and right of way adjacent to the property.
Yes.
Except for.
Except for these native landscapes, pollinator flowers, et cetera.
So the concern about the what is it, the setback,
Setbacks.
item number 1 or point number 1, if we eliminate it completely, it will be no adding, nothing will be added, as well as number 4, excluding, allowing, not fomenting, but allowing the right-of-way usage in a nice manner, in a nice landscape manner. And as I said, examples are many, some of them on Northwest 5th Street, 8th Street, and many others. So this could be a way of balancing what the staff has prepared, and which is, if we eliminate point number 1 and point number 4, it'll be essentially the same code without adding anything else.
I don't see A and B, I guess. I don't even. Where does it talk about where does it talk about our homeowner's responsibility if the city needs to work in the right of way to restore.
Oh, that specific is not in the property maintenance because that's not the property owner's responsibility. So that would, I'm not sure exactly where that is in code, but that's not, right, but that's not specific to this code. What she was talking about is the reason why we were recommending not putting anything in the right of way is because when we do need to go in there, we're going to tear up your landscaping and may or may not be able to replace it. So that's not specific in the property maintenance code because this is really talking about a property owner's responsibility.
That's normally covered through if something is dedicated or required as right of way, that's normally covered within that document itself. Or if it's an easement, it's covered within the separate easement instrument. Or if a plat is filed, there's normally clauses, ownership, dedication on the plat that covers that more broadly.
So has this been a problem in Bentonville with us not being able to fix as a city to the homeowners?
We don't have a ton in the right of way like we were talking about. And so that's, like I said.
That's really more for, I don't know what, like
If it-
water, sewer,
it-
streets.
one
are
of those
dealing
things,
with
if
when
it-
they're out there, when they're having to
People
make repairs.
continue to do it, you will have more and more in the right of way. And so, again, I think the intentions were good with what we were trying to do here, but these are the, what you're talking about are the caveats to that, right? And I think I don't necessarily want to discourage people from doing something nice in the right of way. I just want it to be very understood that the city cannot, if we have to go dig to get to the infrastructure in the ground, our responsibility to replace that. I mean, it could be
So that may be the
thousands
only
of
thing
dollars
we
of
need to add.
landscaping. I want to
I
make
believe
we're not.
it's probably somewhere in like utilities or policy or
So
something.
like back to talking about the reason we're doing this. So if the reason is we need to clarify some points in with the current ordinance, then let's say that's what we're doing and clarify the points we want to clarify. But adding the extra things, let's not do that. Let's just clarify what's already there if we feel like it needs to be clarified.
If we are replacing the items in red, no, I'm sorry, the strikeouts with the reds, everything is the same except points number 1 and 4. The ones that talk about the setback and the public easements and right of ways. So if
Well,
we were to eliminate those
The
two,
delineated landscaped area
2.
is number
Having
2 in there. That would be an addition.
clearly delineated, well, that is added also.
Yes.
And I think that is needed because it has to be contained to a certain degree somehow.
So what you're saying, Shelley, that particular property that got the complaint, like that would be permissible? Like the whole yard just being over 8 inches?
When you, what are you, can you clarify what you're saying?
The-
As far as the whole yard would be
Property where they're wanting
permissible?
the whole yard to go
Uh-huh.
native. Even though we did have an environmentalist go out and say, not all that is native. There's a lot of weeds.
We're also not specifying, weeds would be the one thing that you can't have no matter what, whether it's a landscaped area or whatever. If
And is
if
that-
it's on the
is that-
noxious weeds list,
To actually have a whole yard and no weeds, like a native, because I mean,
tried it.
yeah. I mean, is that like realistic?
Native plantings. There are a lot of them in Bentonville, actually, a lot.
Item number,
Identifying the exceptions, what we need to do.
item number 2 that was also added, it has 4 conditions, and the 4 conditions are or any one of them. The one that I presented a picture to Shelley yesterday is the one that is on the right of way, that it is using a large portion, actually the whole thing between the curb and the sidewalk, which is probably 6 feet by 10, which is large. And everything looks beautiful. And when I ask her, this is not contained, she says yes, because there is a durable material.
I said, you could consider, now, of course, the draft that we have is not within the right of way. That was in the right of way. If you
Yes.
remove that,
Yes.
that would be contained because it is contained by the edge of the sidewalk and the road. So yes, that's how you would interpret that.
So that's what I said. It is already contained by the sidewalk and the curb. It is on the right of way, yes.
So the sidewalk's always gonna be the edge, so this is not
Unless there's no
the
sidewalk.
sidewalk or the road.
Right.
Again,
So.
we already have this.
The other thing and I'm just remembering this from complaints. I know we get complaints about mowing along sidewalks so that grass doesn't go. I know we've had those in our complaints. And so that's with that 5 foot, we always mow. Like when we have trails and sidewalks and different things, the city is mowing that. So it's that grass, even if it was native grass, it's not right up on the edge of.
So that it's not
sidewalk and
falling
stuff.
over
So-
onto this.
And we do get, we have people calling us saying, why isn't the city mowing this part, right? So again,
And we have gotten support for this ordinance also. Like I've received emails of people who say, we need this. I've looked over it, I've read it, I like it.
Tree and Landscape Board has been supportive with what you have in front of you now too. We've also talked with the Illinois River Watershed Partnership about this too.
We need 2 or 4.
I agree on that one.
So the only question I have on the right of way is, if it doesn't go through large scale development, I understand if it goes through that. If it's a neighborhood, downtown home, when are we going out and saying they've planted in the right of way in the side triangle, I can't see to turn left onto Main Street or whatever street? Who's
so
Who's looking at that?
number one, we're complaint driven. So I would say like, you can get along with your neighbor and they're okay with it, like that's the ideal situation.
but
There have been we have one that took a lot of time. I mean, we probably spent 10 hours of staff with one case that was a line of sight case recently. And so, but we
So-
were able to go out and do the measurement and go through the process. So we have a way to deal if it's a line of sight or a safety issue.
We
that's
do
in
get
there.
them.
We currently
We do
have
get
that.
them. I don't know the number because a lot of those will come into the street department. So we do get them, but we have a process for working with the property owner on that too. So, and we have a
But
regular.
like when we go out and do the final inspection or whatever with a home that's been built, is that something that the inspector would be like, this is planted right up to the edge of the road? Gonna be a problem? Or
I would
wait till we get a
say
complaint?
that is more than likely not on their final inspection checklist, single family home.
I mean, it seems like to me, if we could solve that site triangle problem at the beginning.
We do.
wouldn't get
We are
complaints.
managing that right now.
And I would say when they do those inspections, like if it's very obvious it's a line of sight issue, I would say they probably could address that. Most of that's not always in place when we're doing, I mean,
Right.
half the time sods,
Landscaping's not doing.
landscaping's, there's challenges with that, but.
Trees, you'll catch it once it gets tall enough to become an issue and so on. So
Well, and I got a complaint with Mark's, his black-eyed Susies were like really high and people were having to come into the intersection to be able to turn. And so I just emailed Mark and said, hey, like, and he was on vacation and he's like, hey, when I get home, I'm gonna trim this down. And he did. I probably should have sent him to 311, but I didn't want to do that to Mark because I know him personally and he did. But there have been just 2 that where they were having to ease out onto Fifth Street because of the high, in the right of way. So, and Mark graciously, and as soon as I noticed the next Wednesday night that he had trimmed him down. So, people do see it as a safety hazard.
The beauty about this document is essentially on section 1A, where it has exempted pollinator flowers, ornamental native grasses, et cetera, et cetera. That is the key point, that it is in addition to a good addition to the document or to the regulations that we have. There has been concerns, as I mentioned, on item number 1, which is about the setbacks, which item number 4 about the right of way, and item number 2 about the delineation or the limitation of their parcels. But has only, the main problem that it is on this one is on the front of the property where the grass or whatever it is planted may be invading the right of way, not only the right of way, but actually the roadway. So I think it will be a little bit risky to eliminate number 2, but because there is only one of those conditions, and it clearly indicates if it is a durable material like concrete, as I said, from the sidewalk to the curb, then it is going to be always concrete or asphalt or something material. It is the landscape is not going to extend beyond that. So if we can easily keep number 2, because everything is going to be a durable source over there, a surface that it is not permitting the extension of that particular landscape area. So I insist.
You're getting rid of one, so it doesn't affect side and rear property lines.
Right.
The front is.
If we eliminate number 1 and number 4, the rest of the document, it satisfies number 1, the clarification of this type of regulation, and number 2, the explicit favor of the city for pollinator flowers, ornamental or native grasses, etc. All of that is in it that does not exist at this point, and this was precisely what we wanted to do when we requested Shelley's intervention 2 months ago, that indicating that pollinator flowers and others are favorable by the city. And it is clearly indicated on point 1A. So I insist, if we were to eliminate number 1 completely about the setbacks and number 4 about the right of way, then we keep the rest of the document as is.
I still don't think we need to, and it just looks it up for people, because then people are going to be calling going, well, is it fine if it's this or that, or it's just a moot point?
It says this or this or this or this.
It doesn't, yes, but it doesn't say if you're in the right of way and you have your sidewalk and the road. I mean, people are going to ask, or people are just going to do what they want, I guess, which is fine.
Yes, I'm very much in favor of that. Yeah, people do whatever they want with certain limitations.
So I don't think, we don't
think
have
that
consensus
comes down
I don't,
on removing
I don't
those,
know that
so
there's consensus.
we're gonna,
We can put together a couple of options, like Octavio is suggesting, and we can remove a couple of those pieces. We may look at another option as far as just clearly defining turf grass. That's another option. So we could bring that to a committee of the whole if you'd like.
yeah.
So in my proposal,
Now,
I move we table it to allow.
Are we going,
to read-
do we just have one speaker? Was it just Mark?
We see one.
so in my proposal, will be eliminated point number 1 about the setbacks and number 4 about the right of way.
Right.
Period, completely eliminated. And she wants number 2 also
Okay.
eliminated.
Well, I mean, I mentioned to a constituent, I mean, like, I get the backyard, but like, if somebody has something up against your fence that is going to encroach into your property, like, I mean, we have turf in our backyard because we have a batting cage. So my husband doesn't want those coming under the fence, because then that obviously defeats the purpose of having the turf for the batting cage. So I am a little concerned about that, because I feel like like, when it starts coming over into your property, then it becomes my responsibility to take care of.
I'm sorry, this is in reference to one of the 2 items that I,
Yeah, but you were saying, like, to not include the backyard, correct?
yeah.
well,
Some of the reason for that is because we typically, if it's fenced, we're only looking at what we can see from the public right of way. And so if we add a regulation that we technically can't enforce.
Yeah,
does it
no,
make a lot
I
of
mean,
sense
I
to have it in there.
get that, and that's what I said, that would probably be based on complaint based. If somebody complained, then
Right.
that would have to look into the backyard, but
that's what I said, completely eliminate item number 1. Oh,
I would agree.
and 2 for Becky.
So
I'll be back.
we'll go back to the drawing board. We may even talk to Mark about it so that Mark comes back is like, thanks, city, this is awesome.
Hey, he had some good ideas. The ordinance he wrote.
Yes.
Some good ideas.
Ordinance chat GPT.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I get a motion
Just to
to?
clarify,
officially
we want a
table?
motion to postpone, not a motion to table.
The motion to postpone,
Okay.
and
I
give us time
second.
to revise it.
I second that.
A motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank
so
you.
Thank you.
so much for your
postpone.
work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are not perfect, and sometimes we need to revisit, but the worst thing we could do is pass it and it have unintended consequences that are.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
This is
democracy. Yep, thank you.
It's public
Bureaucracy.
policy when we debate these.
Yeah.
And also with, Mark.
Okay,
thank-
item number.
Thank you very much for your input. Keep on helping them to make a better document.
We'll see you planning tomorrow.
Item number 4 is a public hearing and ordinance vacating a right of way and establishing a drainage easement.
New business item number 4, ordinance vacating right of way and establishing drainage easements located at lot 13, block 11 of Gilmore's addition to the city of Bentonville, Arkansas, Benton County, Arkansas, VAC 26-0034.
At this time, I will open the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone here in person or online to speak on this item? Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Ordinance has been read. We have a,
Okay, we have-
are you here to speak on this item?
With each agenda item. Oh,
That'll be at the,
So, yeah, so committee of the whole, we don't have public comment on specific agenda items during committee of the whole. Those can be commented on at the end of city council or for non-agenda items at the very end of voting matters.
Yeah. We have a list of online.
people who are online to comment.
if they're online, they can comment on, we'll let them in the meeting.
Oh, like they're commenting on the YouTube channel or? I don't think they can.
No, we won't see those comments.
It'd have to be verbally, whether via stream or in person, to be captured as a public comment. And then people can always reach out to their council member. Yep.
Item number, okay, so item 4, we did a motion and a second.
No, yes, we haven't voted later.
Is that correct? We have a motion and a second for the right away.
Maybe not.
No, let's get a motion in a second.
So number are we on?
Second.
This is.
We held the public hearing, we
Oh.
closed the public hearing, and now we need a motion on the ordinance vacating.
Becky proposed.
Got it. Holly, Becky Holly.
Motion and a second. Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Hook.
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Seba. Yes. Agree, sorry.
Item number 5 is a public hearing and ordinance vacating an access easement.
New business item number 5, an ordinance vacating an access easement located between lots 50 and lot 5, phase 1 of Hanover subdivision of the city of Bentonville, Arkansas, Benton County, Arkansas, VAC 26-0036.
I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone online or in person to speak on this item? Seeing and hearing, and I'll close the public hearing.
So move. Move the motion. Sorry.
Motion,
Second.
Sorry, I moved the item to be voted on.
motion and a second
I moved the movement.
for the ordinance vacating. What you moving, because no one else is.
Number 5.
Okay, you do have a motion and a second. You've got it recorded. Okay, all right, roll call, please.
Grover.
Yes.
Hook.
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Acre.
Yes.
Yes. Suter.
Yes.
Number 6 is a public hearing and ordinance vacating utility easements.
New business item number 6. An ordinance vacating utility easement located at Lot 1 of Baker's Park Edition of the City of Bentonville, Arkansas, Benton County, Arkansas, VAC 26-0039.
This time I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone online or in person to speak on this item? Not seeing or hearing any. I will close the public hearing.
Move the item for a vote.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hook,
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Acre.
Yes.
Luba,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Okay, we will go into consent agenda items. So if you would please read all titles of all consent agenda items.
New business item number 7 in the City Council for the City of Bentonville, Arkansas. New business item number 8 in the City Council for the City of Bentonville, Arkansas. New business item number 9 in the City Council for the City of Bentonville, Arkansas. New business item number 10, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to accept a design excellence grant from the Walton Family Foundation in the amount of $20,000 for the Parks Master Plan, amending the 2026 budget and for other purposes. New business item number 11, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an amended agreement with Craft and Toll in the amount of $48,976, adding construction administration services for Phillips Park Phase 3 and for other purposes. New business item number 12, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with SWX Construction in an amount not to exceed $593,655, which includes a 10% contingency for the Phillips Park North Pavilion restrooms project and for other purposes. New business item number 13, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement for the purchase of a 2026 International HV 507 cab and chassis with upfit dump body and winter weather equipment from RTC Lowell using Sourcewell contract in the amount of $339,653.34 and for the purposes. New business item number 14, a resolution amending the 2026 budget to accept a Walton Family Foundation grant in the amount of $700,000 to evaluate adaptive AI-based traffic signal technologies and for the purposes. New business item number 15, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an amended agreement with Latrell Enterprises for additional airport finish mowing services in the additional amount of $362.65 per mowing cycle and for other purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Apologies that I missed item number 1 under utility board.
I'm sorry. That's all right.
Could have been on there.
Roll call, please.
Hook,
Yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Acre.
Yes.
Luba,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Okay, item number 1 on the utility board is what we'll go to. All other items 7 through 14 were on consent agenda. Resolution to enter into an agreement with Garver LLC for water system pressure management analysis.
Utility Board, item number 1, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into an agreement with Garver LLC for water system pressure management analysis in the amount of $91,881 and for other purposes.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Acre.
Yes.
Luba,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Hook.
Yes. Is this a resolution?
Yeah, you could have done it by, I just.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
sorry.
I just want to make, yeah, okay. Yes.
That was me because you didn't get included in consent agenda.
Covered this
But
thoroughly.
I apologize. You're on record, full record. All right. Item number 1 under planning is a planned unit development Lower Canyon PUD.
Planning item number 1, an ordinance amending ORD 2026-36 and for the purposes, project number PUD 25-0002.
This is the item that we discussed about the parking reductions they want to have.
I have some pretty serious concerns.
Yep, go ahead.
No, you do better research. You start. I'll.
Go, please.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please.
Well, as I said, it is a concern that it is not only for this parcel or this development, but also we have the previous experiences that we have essentially allow less parking based on our regulations that it is actually necessary. So in this particular instance, as I mentioned earlier, our regulations indicate that they can have a reduction, I think it is 20% reduction on their demands for parking. So instead of being 180 spaces, it's gonna be 150 or something like that. And is that something that we want to do? Do we want to approve that? It is right next to J Street. It is not far from the trail system. And so the argument is based on the regulations that we have on the code, because we did it that way, we approve it that way. So they are basing the reasoning on their request on what it is written, authorized by us. So my question is, do we have the interest on rejecting that change, or do we insist on having a larger number of parking spaces for the development? Otherwise, we may risk, even though the code allows it, do we want to allow it?
Are we experiencing a shortage of parking now in these similar developments? In this?
Well, I think we need to look at what exactly, so there's 156 units, plus a restaurant, plus other commercial units. And originally they were gonna have, and so 130 spaces isn't really even enough for the residential. But then also the commercial, and a restaurant and commercial has the same evening peak needs for parking. So the first time this came to Planning Commission, they were looking at doing a shared parking, and Planning Commission said, okay, at large scale, we're gonna do shared parking. I think we can make this work, and planning approved it. Well, the developer came back and said, no, sorry, we are not gonna be able to make it work to do any shared parking. The 130 spots is what it is for all of the residential and commercial. And the Planning Commission just approved it without any discussion. Like their meeting, they didn't even talk about any concerns, and that concerns me.
So it does say in here that there'll be shared parking. That's no longer the case.
That is no longer
There's
the
not an
case.
official agreement. It would have to.
So I'm kind of disappointed that Planning Commission didn't bring some of that up, but I feel like it's on us. And that's one of the reasons why I want to address this, is because, this is in an area where, all the streets, if all the street parking's taken by all our residents, then where are all the people at the restaurant going to park? They're going to try to park in the street, and then nobody can get through. And this area is already doesn't have enough parking. We've seen what happens when these developments, like the one right there, doesn't have enough parking. Then they have to try to find city lots. And then that puts the burden on the taxpayer to have enough city parking, so that all this overflow that was not put in by developers, I don't think that should be the burden of the taxpayers to find more parking downtown for the people who live there and don't have enough parking at their residential development.
One of the biggest complaints that we get in traffic and signage is people parking on the streets, blocking driveways, line of sight, coming around the corner. There's so many issues now in this city because of the lack of commitments to a good parking quota. And I think this is just going to increase. I think we have to stick with our parking requirements.
I had a conversation with Tyler prior to this, because obviously red flags went up for me. What is interesting is they added a few more residential instead of the parking underneath, because there was, I guess, somewhere gonna be some parking underneath. And then they added like 2-bedroom, which means need more cars.
Like,
So I looked at it, I've got, there's 130 parking, 156. I'm not really seeing how being near the Greenway, which I think that's the exclusion they're using, is gonna work here with why there's not enough parking.
We're finding trips being reduced because we are in a community where people are commuting by bike, which is amazing, but they still own cars. So while trips are being reduced, that doesn't actually reduce the need for that home parking, because people still own a car, at least one car, even if they're commuting on that Greenway to work, which we are encouraging in a successful way. But I think we are remiss to assume that just because people are commuting to work, that they're not going to own a car. Because even though maybe there might be people who don't, some of them are also going to have 2 cars. And that's why the 1 per unit kind of works. But then when you dramatically go under that and then completely don't take into account the restaurant and the commercial needs for parking and all the complaints we get for the streets where you can't even get through our emergency, certainly can't get through a lot of those streets in that area because people are lined, which is what we're asking for by not requiring ample, adequate parking.
There is something else that I want to mention here. The PUD is an obsolete structure.
Yes, thank goodness. We won't be doing these anymore.
This development came based on the regulations that we had at the time when it was established. However, the change, it's applying a portion of the new code for parking. So it is in my understanding, it is mixing an old structure with a new code.
Trying to kind of have the best of the old and the new.
The best of two
which-
worlds.
Yeah.
And as I said, this is for the detriment, bad, unfortunately, for the parking spaces in that area. It is already a congested space, but if we are allowing practically no parking on 156 units, it's going to be not good.
I asked the question earlier, but no one's answered it. Do we have a parking problem in this particular block? We have a developer who's built, I think, 2 buildings there. Maybe he could speak to the fact that I've not gotten any complaints. Is there a parking problem in this area?
Well, once 156 units
But
go
is there
up, like,
today a parking problem with the 2 existing buildings that have been built? That's the question. I'm just asking.
The problem I
Maybe there
had
is.
when I drove over to look at this was people parking on the street and
But the
making.
street,
it
you're
seem
allowed to
weird.
park on the street.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. If we're gonna have everybody
factored
parking on
into
the
the
street. it's
maybe
going
the
to-
restaurant patrons need the street. Where are they gonna park,
They gotta get to the green.
So can we ask Tyler or somebody to explain why? There might be a reason why we.
One second. Did council members want developer to?
Yeah, Tyler, can you,
Do we not usually have public comment before we have our discussion?
Well, usually they're signed up
They're-
and we can
they're
kind of.
signed
talk.
So for
Right.
the planning portion, you are welcome to ask the developer to come out. That is outside of public comment. But that is at your
But
liberty.
I think declining the shared parking is an issue. That was originally part of the deal for amending this, and now that's been taken off the table. And that's not in our packet, so I think that's something that needs to be addressed as well, right? Like there's no.
Speculating, can we just hear the?
Yeah, so real quick on that point. So yes, it was originally brought through on July 7th, 2026 as a PUD amendment. Within that, staff recommended a condition of approval to execute a shared parking agreement on a form acceptable to the planning director and staff attorney. That item was approved by planning commission. Afterwards, though, our team, we heard from the developer, hey, that's untenable. Here's the reasons why. Here's why we can't do that. And then we brought it back through as an amended request because they want to meet the parking requirements of the adopted Bentonville Community Code. And that's what was represented to Planning Commission, last week on August 4th. So now that's where we are here today. I will say in full transparency, we have kind of flagged parking as a topic of conversation. So we've already advertised the public hearing for next week, so it shouldn't be a surprise, but we are talking about parking with the planning commission at our meeting next week. Probably for some of these similar concerns and discussion topics we're having tonight. So I would, as was mentioned, the developer is here to answer some of your questions, Chris, about parking availability and the studies they've done. So I'll step back.
We do have 2 signed up. I'm assuming these are developers to speak on this item. So if you would like to hear from the public now, we can do that. Okay. All right. Chris, if you'll just state your name and your address and keep your comments to 3 minutes or under, we would appreciate it.
Chris Barabo with Motor Studio out of Fayetteville. We prepared the presentation to show you what we're requesting. I didn't know it was gonna be part of the public comment, so I'll try to keep it brief and have the 3-minute time limit. But this is the diagram that we submitted and back to Planning Commission. The right-hand side of this image is just the code as it stands today, which allows us to be within 1/8 of the greenway and take up to a 20% reduction. We're not requesting the full 20% reduction. If we were, we would only be requesting 125 spaces, but we're actually providing 130 spaces. So we're not taking the full 20%. But I wanted to start by saying, I was going to say kudos to y'all for adopting the community code, because it is progressive in the way it deals with parking, and very similar to a lot of other municipalities that I work in that allow some amount of reduction that's not just a one-to-one. In fact, it's very, very much in line, which is why we thought it made sense to come back and say, since you adopted this, why would we not utilize it? Now, we're not just reducing parking because we just want to reduce parking. If you'll go to the next slide, this is an updated plan of the entire area. So Giant Market on the left is existing. That was approved back in 2017, I believe. Actually, as a 0.85, only an 85% parking requirement is how that was approved. And I got some more data for you on that on the next slide, but stay here for a second. Haven is built out now. Lanterns is under construction. Laurel's and what we're talking about. And if you could scroll down just a little bit, you're kind of clipping the top of that slide. I need the top of the slide, please. Nope.
Other direction.
Top of the other slide, right there. So the reason we're back here requesting is because instead of having parking spaces facing the street, under the podium, under the concrete structure parking area, we've added these 6 units, which are stoop walk-up units right off of the sidewalk. So a much more urban feel. And these are larger units. Actually, they have a little built-in office, so they're kind of a live-work model, and ample room for bike parking inside of the unit itself. So we thought that presented a better front, a better facade to the streetscape than just having parking exposed or partially screened. So that row that you see of units, that's where the parking came out of the project and why we're here requesting the lower amount. So that's why we're here, not just to come arbitrarily reduce parking, but because we actually think this makes for a better project in this area. So then the next slide, back to Giant Market, again, approved in 2017. It's been up and running for many years now. This is actual data that Scott and Bill Butler's online as well, they could speak more to, but all the parking at Giant Market is by permit only. And only 67% of tenants actually are permitted to park there. So the other spaces are empty. So they're not even using the 0.85 that they're approved. They actually have empty spaces in the garage. There are parking spaces in front of that building that are street parking. We have street parking, years ago, I did Brick Avenue Lofts. We did the angle parking there.
Point of order, public comments reach 3 minutes.
Can I continue?
This is really the developer presenting to us.
If you guys are asking him to be up here for these, then this is outside of public.
I'd like to hear.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with that. So actually, to control the street parking, I would say, because I hear that concern that everybody's bringing up, actually developing the street into the right of way and actually having spaces marked and parallel parking or angled parking like we're planning to do solves that problem of the mishap parking that exists that then jams up a road. So actually development finishes the street section the way it's intended to be, which then organizes the parking into dedicated spaces. So then you can't jam up the car. So I think that's a good thing. It just, until it does that everywhere, it's not, it's not perfect, right? There's still little nooks and crannies that people might come into. So that's it. Those are the 3 slides I have. Again, Mr. Kilkenny is here. Bill Butler's online. If there are any other specific questions from the development side, I'm from the design side. But we're here to make this request because the new code allows it. We think it makes a ton of sense, and we think we're getting a better building and streetscape out of it. So happy to answer any questions.
So does the same developer own all of these?
Yes.
And they weren't willing to, or weren't able to get a shared parking agreement?
Scott Kilkenny, 904 Southeast 3rd Street. I actually live right where Laurel's going to be built. And I've been living there for most of this year. It's different ownership groups. It's the same developer, but each building is owned by a different set of owners and investors. So it makes it very complicated from a financial perspective, as well as a bank perspective, to burden it with a cost sharing agreement or parking sharing agreement between the different areas. I think to speak to a couple of points, and to your point, I walk by this neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood. My spouse has a car that goes back and forth to Colorado. So when they're here, we have a car. When they're not, we have no car. I walk everywhere. I walk to the square almost every day. I walk 6 times up and down the alley and look in the garages because of this concern. I have never seen the garage full, no matter what time of day. I've never seen the parking around G full, the street parking, except for one time when the Momentary had a Wiz Khalifa concert. That was the only time that the street parking has been full in this neighborhood. So your question, this neighborhood has never had a parking overflow or parking issue that I've been aware of. And I have my windows open, watch on Saturday mornings, amazing foot and bike traffic going up and down Third Street, going to Farmers Market from Brook Avenue Lofts, from the other residential areas.
How many commercial properties are in these other developments?
2 at G of Market, none in Haven. There'll be 1 at Lanterns and 1 at Laurel.
So can you tell us a little bit about the commercial in Laurel?
At G at Market, there's a co-working space and there is a Pilates gym. At Haven, there are none. At Lanterns, there'll be a speakeasy, second floor, kind of a small space. Sorry.
Any of those are not built out, right? They're not.
G at Market are. Both of them are and they're occupied.
The others don't have anybody. They're
Correct.
not built out, right?
Correct.
And the-
Correct. Haven does not have any commercial space.
The Laurel commercial spaces look like?
It'll be at the opposite end. It's in the very upper right corner, that trapezoid looking space, the next one over all the way across the alley. That'll be the restaurant.
So there's 1 restaurant and 1 commercial
Mhm.
space? So, and wasn't part of your change was that you expanded the restaurant and made it larger? Am I remembering that correctly?
No, not
No?
necessarily. No, it was for more amenities for the residents' use on site. There's a pool in Laurel, which we've not done in any other developments on the second floor. Another couple just facts. I develop in 3 other municipalities, and I'm on the other side of the table making a case. Those municipality codes have eliminated parking. In fact, you have to fight to be able to have any parking. Market demands a certain amount of parking for people to live in. The idea of who the residents are and what the demographic is that we're trying to bring and attract in this location tends to be a younger audience. They tend to be employees for Walmart or working downtown. If you look Gen Zs, 24% of them do not have nor intending to get driver's licenses, meaning they will not own a car. They rely on rideshare services. They rely on Uber Eats. They rely on delivery services for groceries. They will not have a car. So giving them parking is underutilized space for what's happening. We have a large percentage of Gen Zs. That's 67% of our G at Market. I'm trying to give parking away as an incentive for people to say, let's have you park a car here. What do you need? Will that be something? And they're like, that doesn't matter. I don't have a car. They don't want that at G at Market. They walk to Walmart. I had a young lady that I toured last week at G, and I asked her for her driver's license, and she giggled at me. She's like, she was 26. She's like, I have a passport if you need an ID. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a car. I live in Bentonville where I'm at because I can walk to the square. I can have everything delivered. I take an Uber to the airport, and I work at Walmart. So that's the demographic that we're working with here.
So what is your plan for parking at the restaurant? Will it be valet with off-site parking?
It'll be very similar to like Conifer at the Howard. It'll be a very similar setup. There will be some parking dedicated. All the street parking in front will be for the restaurant, and it'll be additionally to like what Conifer's doing.
The restaurant but what if it's full? Like all of these are going online and your residents are
That's the only
likely to-
commercial space in this entire 3-block radius for what we're doing. I understand your
I feel like
concern.
we're setting ourselves up for a lot of, this lot right out, our city lot is a third full of the residents that live in those apartments at any given time because we gave them a waiver where they didn't build enough parking. So now they all have to use city lots. And so we get ourselves into these problems and we don't have enough public parking for all the people who want to utilize, the services downtown. And so I'm very leery of getting ourselves into this situation in other areas downtown.
That being
Can I
said,
speak?
we granted a waiver to probably most of the developments that have been done. I don't know how many, but we wrote the code. We wrote the code that we're now arguing with.
Yeah, we just passed it.
And everything, and I agree with your points, but everything that the consultants through the plan told us was we need to eliminate parking, we need to make more density, we need to put housing where parking lots are, and now we're trying to build more parking lots. So there's 2 sides. I mean,
But I think now
valid arguments on both sides, but
I mean, I was at DMV and the guy next to me was getting his. And he said, well, he said, I have two cars. He said, because I have a company car, but I won't get rid of my Jeep. And I was like, oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought of that because there are so many company cars.
I'm gonna speak because this one's challenging for me because I know of all the concerns that come to us on the back end. Parking on the street in downtown, all of your residents, we get complaints all the time about that. And so I am concerned if you don't have the number of spaces for the number of residents. I understand when I first started looking, I was like, okay, how in your agreements can you say you can only have one parking space, but at this, you're like less than one per, I don't even know how you do that in an agreement. So I understand you've got permits. I guess they have to pay for the permit. Is that how that works? And that, the other thing that, I mean, I went and drove the streets. They are narrow streets. So if people park on, we will create another problem where we're gonna have to go put no parking signs on the side of the streets down there. And that's another concern. So I'm struggling with this one myself just because, and I understand the code and I know what the intention is try to encourage more people to live off the greenway and bike and different things. So I am struggling just because I know the challenges on the back end and everybody passed the code with good intentions. I think these are some of the after conversations that are going to need to, and I get when they kept telling us, well, if you don't require parking, they'll do more than that's needed. So I will tell you, that's what the consultant said to us is don't require it and they'll do more than what's needed. That's not been my experience. So, and I'm just saying, and I'm just, the things right now where we hear complaints, it definitely is parking on the street and not enough parking in downtown. And so
Does this space count as public parking in downtown? Like, would people coming to downtown want to park in this space and where?
No, but if they don't have enough spaces for their people that are coming to the commercial and living there, then they're they're parking on the street and different things. So that's what we're trying to figure out.
But their consultants recommend that they have enough.
Hello, can I speak? Can you guys hear me?
Hey, Bill.
Oh, hey. So, I'll be darned. I didn't know how this lower hand, raise hand thing worked. A couple quick things. One, I'm amazed and impressed by how active the city council is. I mean, there's a lot of thinking going on, and I appreciate it. Two, Scott Kilkenny and I are owners of a piece of every one of these developments, although we don't we don't have control of every one of them. We are owners in every one of them. This neighborhood, we think we are creating an amazing downtown sub-segment neighborhood for people that I think most of this conversation doesn't even apply to. It's the people that don't have a lot of money. The issue with people downtown is it's getting so crazy expensive to live downtown. Everybody knows how much money, if they live downtown, they made off the value of their homes, which is great in one hand. But the people that can afford to live downtown in a single family home, they do have a Ford Raptor. They probably have a Mercedes. They have 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 cars. The people that live in these units, we've got 4 years of data of the tenants that live at G Up Market. The city planning and this council approved 0.85 parking at G Up Market because it was one of the very first apartments downtown. No one really knew what was going to happen. And I'll be darned, to Scott Kilkenny's point, our tenants are young. I don't know if they can't afford a car. I don't know exactly what the reason is, but I do know this. People who want to live in these types of places, they're making a specific decision to live here, and having a car is not part of it. Not for these people. Yes, for the person who bought a $1.8 million home downtown. They're going to have 4, 5, 6 cars. These people don't really, on average, have cars. That's the facts. I know there's a lot of anecdotes about I ran into a guy or this could happen, and I agree. And where I live in my neighborhood, people have too many cars. But people who live downtown are not about cars. I know that because we've been developing in Bentonville for 9 years now. When we build something for somebody who can pay more money, whether it's rent or to buy, we're building a townhome or a condo with big garages. We have 22 townhomes at Parkside Row, which is directly across the street from Phillips Park. The garages are huge. People use those garages. What we're building here is a nice part of the upcoming downtown lifestyle of Bentonville that fits what really all the experts say, A, it should be, and B, it's naturally going to be. We have a lot of people who live in these units that work at Walmart, and they're not even here more than half the time. We have people who work in these because we're so close to the new campus. That's part of why we created this right here. We have people who literally work for vendors, say a General Mills or a Procter Gamble, who live down here. They're only here 2 weeks out of the month. The other thing, we spend a lot of time with our tenants all over here, all over the places we have in Bentonville. And what they tell us about Bentonville is we love downtown. I wish there was more stuff to walk to. We want to put a restaurant here, for example, for the people who live in the neighborhood. We want to create a neighborhood vibe, a neighborhood restaurant. You should not live in downtown Bentonville and feel like you've got to get into a $60,000 car to drive across town to find a place to park to go to dinner. You should be able to live in Bentonville and within a quarter mile walk to something really cool. And it's all emanating from the square. But the comments that were made earlier are right. What was built, those apartments that were built right downtown, you're spot on. Those that was underparked, and the people that do have cars there because it's underparked, they do use the garage, right? These people that live here and live in the other apartments that are around here, they want to be able to get out and walk to something. And there's a reason why all the consultants said, hey, if you're close to the bike path, right, don't encourage cars. We don't want tenants who drive Ford Raptors. I have nothing against Ford Raptors. That's not our tenant base. And the people that are taking the risk are not the city council and they're not the citizens of Bentonville. It's the developer, because if we can't find enough people, right, to fill this because they all wanted to drive one car or own two cars and live here, they're not going to choose to live here. This is a self-selection process. The people who want to live right downtown and want big cars, they're going to build those big houses that are happening now, which are lovely. Like, I live in the southwest quadrant when I'm in town, right? In a townhome. I have a big 2-car garage. Now I don't use it, right? But if I did live there full time, yes, I would have a car. I'm 61 years old. I'm old and out of touch with what people are doing now in downtown environments. And I personally think this is going to be, all four of these working together are going to be an incredible part of the fabric of downtown Bentonville and the market district. These people are going to walk to the new music arena when it's opened. These people are going to walk or ride their bike onto campus at Walmart, because we all know that the Walmart campus is so highly activated. They did such a great job with the retail. Go there on the weekend. A great majority of the people that are there rode their bikes there. This culture is coming, and we're part of that culture in building this. But if we can't rent these out because somebody said, oh, there's not enough parking here, they're not going to rent here. They're going to go across town or somewhere else. People aren't going to live all the way downtown in Bentonville in an apartment and need a car to commute to Rogers. We don't have tenants who think of Rogers or Fayetteville as a good place to go work if they live here. We're building this to represent that part of society that should have a right to live downtown, who's not old like me, who doesn't think old fashioned like me, who doesn't want a big car to demonstrate, their lifestyle. That's not what these people want. And those people that do want those things, there's plenty of other options in Bentonville. Mark Haney will build them an incredible home. But that's not who lives here. These are not homeowners. These are not high wage earners for the most part. Some are. We do have some very wealthy people who live here too. They just happen to like the same lifestyle. But most of the people here are young, mobile. They love the thought of being right downtown and they want to walk to stuff. I just think this is a great opportunity. I mean, we're going to make this street, this talk about this street, and I know I'm going on, but I'll give you one other thing. We built 12 townhomes at J and 10th Street. It's a dilapidated area by most of Bentonville standards. It's going to keep getting improved. We were told you can't build on-street parking there. I took pictures and showed them, hey, if you don't organize on-street parking, you know what happens? People park anywhere off the street. They park at dangerous angles, right? They don't follow any rules because you, Bentonville, didn't create any rules for them. You just let them park wherever. And the feedback was, yeah, well, a neighbor can call the cops and ask somebody to move their car. It doesn't happen. So we're actually going to turn 3rd Street into an amazing walking street from J all the way over to Southwest A. If you think about that gap of 10 blocks, right? It's largely apartment dwellers. Think about let's talk really about this part of town. This is not for the high wage earner, big hitter guy. This is for people who are young, who add value to Bentonville, and they have a right to live there too. And they don't need or want a Ford Raptor, right? And we're going to turn this street into a beautiful, organized street, just like on the opposite side. Brick Avenue Lofts has wonderful wonderful parking that's made that side of the street organized and nice. You can have people increasingly walking out of Laurel or Lanterns or Haven at GM Market, and they're going to walk right to the bike path, which is only 1/8 the way. And this is what Scott and I do when we go to dinner downtown. We walk on the bike path. It's lovely. It goes right behind the Walton property. There's lots of trees. And then we walk up into the square. And thankfully, if we eat too much, we get to walk home. I don't want a car there. And not everybody is this big car person.
Thank you, Bill. I think we're starting to kind of repeat and go way, way, way over 3 minutes.
You only gave me 2 ways. I think I went 3 ways.
You make some very good points, and I do appreciate your perspective very much.
I'm obviously divided on this particular item because on one hand, I'm thinking like somebody older than you, Bill. And on the other hand, at the same time, I understand the new style of living by some people who do not have not even children, even less cars or things like that. So that they may prefer this type of development. And at the same time, as you mentioned, the risk, the financial risk is on you because you are going to put a lot of money into this development in order to have it offered to the public. And the public has to be satisfied enough with it in order to use it. Otherwise, you'll be losing a lot of money in it. On the other hand, the development on this particular area, it is on the north side of it, it is something that was created some years ago. I don't remember the name of the place, but it was, there are dozens and dozens of apartments over there, perhaps. Thank you. So it's there, it is already there. This development, I think, is an addition to what it is already built. And the proximity to Walmart campus makes it very attractive for people to live there if they are working at the company. One of the items that I have mentioned that it is probably that could have been very productive is for Walmart to have had in their campus some buildings for their own employees. That didn't happen, but in a way, you as investors and developers are creating that housing units that are not available inside the campus. At the same time, this development is obviously replacing the single-family homes that existed over there for decades and decades. But it is already happening. It already happened to the north of this development, all the way to Central Street on J and all of the other streets nearby. And there are other developments in the vicinity. So I don't think this is a space for single-family units. So likely there is going to be very little impact on them because they are not going to be there. It is going to be mostly the future development is going to be this type. So I'm beginning more inclined at this moment to accept the reasoning that less parking is sufficient.
And to clarify, in Gia Market, you said you already have less spots there than residential.
0.85, yeah.
Right,
Design
and you're
is
67%.
67% utilized.
Utilized. And they're right next door.
It's always empty. I look at their parking lot from my front window.
Big old parking lot.
Are you at, if we do make a mistake and end up having a parking issue, we'll put no parking signs on both sides of the street and if, with complaints, so. And, things change sometimes and we have to make adjustments, but, if that's the demographic that we need to accommodate, we do have an affordable housing problem.
Is he calling this affordable?
No. it's only a thing.
Yeah, he did kind of
Oh,
allude
no,
to the
no,
fact
'cause
that
I mean, I've looked up all the rents of all around,
Right.
just sitting
Well,
here
yeah,
and
Yeah, but
so you
let's
lost
talk-
me at that.
Okay, well, let's talk about rent then, okay? Do you know, we all do. Think about if you want to move to Bentonville. Here's a typical tenant. I'm 24. I've been living in Fayetteville since I graduated from the U of A. I've got an opportunity to move up to Bentonville, and I know it's more expensive than it is Fayetteville, but I want to live there, okay? They can pay $12 or $13 or $1,400 for a studio, okay? They do not have $200,000 saved to live and experience downtown Bentonville for a down payment. They cannot afford a 2-bedroom townhome, right, by themselves, right? There are virtually no 1-bedroom townhomes. Thank God Tyler and his team put together the cottage plan and got that through, because there is not, let's use the term the appropriate way, affordable by Bentonville standards. It's not fair to say, oh, well, that's so expensive when you're not taking into account how expensive everything else is in Bentonville. We're selling townhomes for $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. No one in their 20s can afford that. So are we just going to say if you want to enjoy Bentonville and you're in your 20s or you're 32, you don't get to live downtown? These are people that don't care about cars like we do, but they care about lifestyle. The younger generation doesn't accumulate material things like we do. They accumulate experiences. This is an awesome experience. These are going to be 4 amazing buildings that bond together and create part of Bentonville where you don't have to buy to live there. Yes, you can afford it. You can afford it because you're one of those smart young people that's got a job at Walmart in one of their technology groups, for example, and you make 80 grand. You make 100 grand. You make 62 grand. But none of these people, I shouldn't say none, in Gia Market, Laurel, and Lanterns, virtually no people in their 20s, if you don't allow them to have this lifestyle, virtually none of those tenants can live downtown. It's not like these apartments are priced differently than other apartments. In fact, some other apartments are more expensive. So if I'm sorry I'm getting so worked up, but I feel like this ends up being a proxy for discriminating against people, right, that don't think or act like we do. We have a lot of people here who don't think or act like anybody in the room, right? But they want to live in downtown Bentonville and they want to walk to First Friday just like Scott Kilkenny does. So we're going to say, well, you don't get to walk to First Friday. You have to live outside of downtown to afford an apartment, and then you have to drive your car to First Friday, and then you have to use all the city parking. I mean, I just really think we got to be fair to people that can't afford to buy a house, can't afford to pay $2,800 to live in a 2-bedroom townhome, right? And certainly can't
And
live.
look, you're making the investment because you believe that this clientele exists. It's your risk. And I also believe this clientele exists. I'm riding my bike myself a lot more. So I do agree that this clientele exists.
But you still own cars.
Well, I
Park
live,
somewhere.
I live outside of downtown, and that's also my prerogative, and I'm a realtor. I have to go all through Northwest Arkansas. These people are not me, and I'm acknowledging that.
Another concern with the code, with the 1/8 and quarter, like we saw the big circle, like, should this really be an as the crow flies kind of a measurement? Or is it like, does it need to be more like, how long does it take us to get to the greenway? Like, I think that's an additional concern that I want to discuss. That's not specified in the code, how that should be measured. You know, if we do continue.
Oh, I think we're done with developer comment for the time being.
Just ask one question, because I think we could have gotten through this had the shared parking agreement been able to be worked out. Can you just give us some understanding? Because for me, I did really like that idea because it gives me a little more assurance to the public that we're not eventually gonna have a parking issue. I know you're telling me we're not. My experience has not been that that's the case in a lot of instances, and that's where I'm struggling a little bit, and I would really have liked to have seen the shared parking agreement to help me give something to the public to say, you know, there's some.
As Bill and I described, we own a piece of each one, albeit a small piece. I think I'm the smallest owner of each one, but it gets me to live here and actively participate. Our financial partner, who is a 9-10 figure investor in the Lanterns project, is out of Houston, and they accept no consideration for any burdens that they can't sell this property once it's stabilized to another party. They look at the shared parking agreement, albeit community oriented and friendly, as a restriction on a future buyer to say, I don't want to enter into something that could prevent the ultimate use of this property or the saleability of this property. And so that's why we said we can't accept the parking share agreement to Lanterns or G because they're dissimilar owners.
Okay, so I'm gonna pose this question to you. Is there anything else that can be put into, so if we get people parking on the roads and we call you and we say, this is a problem, like, is there anything out there? I don't know. I'm just.
I don't know. I mean,
because that's
I
honestly
love the question.
where I'm at. with
Yeah, I
it.
love the question. So my thing that I'm trying to work out is I want this to feel like an incredibly cool community. I've got 4 buildings, and if you look where it says Geo Market and follow that down, we're creating a walking path. We'll have water features. You'll walk down kind of a green garden area, and it will go out the exit where it says 3rd Street. That'll be a portico that you can walk through. There'll be waterfalls or water features inside that. So we're really trying to create a connection. Laurel will have a pool. Haven doesn't have any amenities. We're looking at they can pay a fee to go into Laurel and be able to utilize the pool at Laurel Canyon. So we may have payment agreements between them. I just can't have a free or a burdensome agreement. So if there's a problem with parking and you came to me and said, your residents are parking on the streets and we have complaints, we would go back and say, let's talk about, can Laurel afford to pay G a fee? Potentially. I can't commit to that because that's all the financial partners, but I would look to your point of saying, is there something creative that we could do that helped to offset that? I can't accept it as a term, but that's how I would try to solve the problem in the district for me.
I see that at the end, your organization is going to be dealing with the tenants and all the problems associated with it. The thing that we are trying to prevent is or reduce the possibility of problems that will occur and the city will have to deal with, and the police will have to intervene and this and that, the whole thing. But it seems that you are absolutely confident that this is a good design and it will improve the area. And on the other hand, we are not investing, the city is not investing any money in it. all the investment goes to you. Thank you very much for putting the money in it. So I'm ready to say yes on this.
My opinion is that we do need the housing. And when we say affordable housing, I think there's a misunderstanding that when we talk about affordable housing, we're talking about cheap housing. I don't think that's the case. I think it's inventory. And I have young adult children. I know how hard it is for them to find apartments or condos. The price range you're talking about tends to be pretty adequate in those type of buildings. I do think it may lead to a parking problem. My concern is with why we have already said, we're not going to do the PUDs, et cetera, but that's a planning commission issue. It's not your issue. I like what you're trying to do. And I know by sitting on traffic and signage, what the outcome will be if it doesn't turn out this way. I think we need this development as much as, I'm a car person still, so I will support it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one other person to speak. Scott, or I guess you both did. Okay. Okay. Is there any other discussion? And at this point, do we have a motion or a second? And if you'll just give us your name and address, and then if you'll keep it to 3 minutes or under, we would appreciate it.
Quick. Okay, my name's Avery Quick and I live in 108 Southeast 8th Street, so Brick Avenue, right above it. I think he said we have a bit more parking per spot in Brick Avenue, but my experience is that there's never a shortage for parking. Even on the weekends when friends are visiting or people parking there to walk into town, I've never had an issue finding a spot. And I know as a Walmart employee, a young Walmart employee, just recently graduated college, the people who are moving to these areas sometimes don't have a car or sometimes will share a car with their spouse, is my experience. And so there are fewer numbers, and a priority for us is in fact having those businesses nearby. Having a speakeasy right there would be super cool. I only lament the fact that the coffee shop nearby closes early. I wish that was open longer. Like, we want these shops here. I think there is actually good amount of parking in the area. I think your biggest issue is not going to be street parking, but perhaps dealing with people overflowing into the associate store parking lot right across the street. But that store has very limited hours, so there's usually actually nobody there. But I do have friends who will usually bike into the area if they're going to town, like restaurants in town. If they live nearby, they're not really going to drive. I think my friend Andrew is on the stream right now. He bikes everywhere into town. So that would be another, like, he would be visiting, but wouldn't be parking. I personally, I'm not too concerned about parking in the area. And as it is, if people do have to go park in public spots because they're visiting the restaurant, I mean, they're bringing this revenue, right? That's getting taxed, that's paying for the upkeep of the streets, isn't it? Or the owning of the car in the city, that registration that's paying for them to be able to use public parking. I don't see why that would be an issue if they decide to use public parking decks or public parking spots. That's pretty much all I have to say. I stick to 3 minutes. Please, I really want that speakeasy.
Okay, I think we've had the discussion. So at this point, do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Patterson,
No.
Acre,
Yes.
Diva,
Yes.
Luder,
Yes.
Rover,
Yes.
Hook,
No.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2 is a rezoning Atkins R1 suburban single family to T3.1 neighborhood edge.
Planning item number 2, an ordinance changing real estate in the city of Bentonville, Arkansas from its present zoning classification of R1 suburban single family to T3.1 neighborhood edge and for other purposes. Project number RZ 26-0037.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Acre,
Yes.
Diva? Yes. Studer?
Yes.
Grover?
Yes.
Hook?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
And 3 is a rezoning, Pinnacle Utes Properties LLC for R1 suburban single family to T3.2 neighborhood transition.
Planning item number 3, an ordinance changing real estate in the city of Bentonville, Arkansas from its present zoning classification of R1 suburban single family to T3.2 neighborhood transition and for the purposes. Project number RZ 26-0038.
So moved.
Second.
Turner, second, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Diva?
Yes.
Studer?
Yes.
Grover?
Yes.
Hook?
Yes.
Sanchez? Patterson?
Yes.
Acre?
Yes.
That concludes our voting agenda, so I'll get a motion to adjourn from that.
So moved.
Okay. Motion a second, and we do have people signed up for public comment. JP, you are first. And if you would just give us your name and address and keep your comments for 3 minutes or under.
Thank you. Jason McCrory, I know most of you guys, 3508 Southwest Briar Creek Avenue, and I'm going to start by saying I do know of a permanent flock ALP, our license plate reader within Bentonville city limits that is at the end of a residential road. It's my road. It is a Centerton one, but it is in the Bentonville side of the street,
There you go.
500 feet from my front door. And that tends to change your perspective on that whenever every single time you leave to go to school, go to church, go to pick up a late night libation run, if you will, that you're getting logged. You're getting, and that's going into a national database. The other thing I'm going to say is I am a senior software engineer at Walmart. I do a lot of work with security and everything like that. So I'm going to mention that one of the things I work with a lot are called CSVs, or critical security vulnerabilities, of which Flock has 50 plus of them. I'm going to call out 2 of them specifically. One, the cameras at our parks had a huge vulnerability that allowed anybody with a public internet access with no encryption, no password to access the streams. Was secret for 6 months to let them patch it, then it patch it. Went public, remained for another 4 to 5 months before somebody posted a video live streaming themselves for reading a public statement about their security. Number 2, the search website for Flock to look up hey, I want to look for this reason with this license plate number, had a query string in the URL. And Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing can index all of them. They didn't set up the robots.txt. That is like security 101, which means you could just search.flocksecurity.com, and it would just list, oh, here's the license plate and the reason that they were searching for. Flock security has a lot of security issues, is what I'm trying to say. And some of those reasons that were put in there, I have included in an email for most of you guys, but they're a little concerning as well. I mean, investigation, kind of generic, but also ICE. RV sounds very innocent, residential verification. That happened in 3 of at least 50 cases of police stalking their exes. Whenever you plug into a nationwide network, it starts to get sketchy, because we might have a local policy that says, no, you can't access this. Hey, Centerton's got access. Hey, I got a buddy over there. Let me call him up, see if he'll do me a favor. Whenever your security is weak as the weakest link, it's not very secure, and our local policies can be bypassed. The next question is, 500 feet, what saturation
Point of order, public comments reach 3 minutes.
do you have to reach before it's your concern?
Thanks, JP.
Alex Filon?
Hi, folks. My name's Alex Filon. I live at 2804 Southwest Ables Drive. I moved to Bentonville recently, and I also work as a software engineer. So my work allows me to have a closer understanding of the wider network of tracking that big tech companies have and the amount and types of data they collect. Almost every action that you do on any of your mobile devices allows big tech oligopolies to construct a detailed user profile of what your interests might be, what products you might be interested in, your political beliefs, and so on and so forth. The easiest way you can kind of release yourself from the surveillance of your devices is by going out, enjoying our parks, our Bentonville Square. And big tech really opposes this because they want as much of your behavior mapped as possible. Installing ALPR cameras like those made by Flock throughout our neighborhood, especially in public places, helps those empowered do this. While publicly Flock says it does not use facial recognition tracking, these cameras are more than equipped to do so. If they can find a white truck with a red toolbox, it would be hard to assume that they can't do facial recognition. Their patent, specifically on the US patent website, says that they allow their consumers to sort people by race, height, weight, gender, etc. Even if facial recognition was impossible for these cameras, Flock can also identify any Bluetooth device to establish your identity. They can get internal information about your car, like tire pressure, gas levels, and they can use your network to track your route based on timestamp and their camera network. This opens the door for things like protest suppression, stalking, and targeted advertising, just to name a few. The police has recommended the use of ALPRs because it makes their job easier. Flock's vast network allows them to track criminals easier, as AI can give them a lot of information about a suspect without needing to closely monitor non-AI-based CCTV cameras, which does speed up investigations. And I've heard stories at other meetings about deterring car break-ins and solving the case of a truck knocking down a light post. But I asked, to get these outcomes, do we need to give up our privacy to a private company whose main goal is not our safety, but is to profit for its shareholders? What really makes Flock better in these instances than, say, a regular CCTV camera network? Furthermore, the chief mentioned that these cameras would be used for serious crimes only. But how can we be sure that it won't be used for smaller crimes when officers don't want to use other methods of investigation because using these Flock cameras would be quicker? If this issue causes audits for the police department to fail, is there a line where once crossed, these cameras will no longer be used? That's a question I have. While I'm undoubtedly against the idea of camera-based surveillance, if we have no other choice, I'd rather be watched by closed-circuit cameras with access only given to Bentonville city officials
Point of order, public comments reach 3 minutes.
Than ALPRs with access given to Flock, Palantir, the federal government, hackers, and whoever has the money to pay Flock to learn what you do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Adam, and I cannot read your last name. Okay.
Hi, I'm Adam Eubank. I live at 2302 Southeast St. Andrews Boulevard. That's apartment 15. In the event that law enforcement wants to come harass me, that's fine. The chief of police earlier, there were a few inconsistencies in what he said. Some of them have already been pointed out. I would like to know if it's not always recording. How does it take a picture? It's sort of like Alexa is not always listening to you. It only hears when you say, Alexa, something, something, or hey, Google, something, something. Well, obviously, you have to be listening and paying attention before you can respond to that command. So we have the same situation there. And what is a video if it isn't a series of photos in sequence? So the idea that just because it doesn't record video, that's okay completely misses the point. And I would submit that it is most likely intentionally. I would highly recommend checking out some videos by a gentleman named Ben Jordan on YouTube. That's BENN Jordan. He breaks down some of the things these other gentlemen have mentioned here. And there will probably be some interesting stuff coming out of the DEF CON conference that just happened in Las Vegas. There always is. False positives are a concern. I just was made aware of a situation in which someone got pulled over in, I don't remember what state it was, but they were pulled over because their license plate matched a stolen vehicle. The stolen vehicle turned out to be a motorcycle instead of a van or whatever the people were driving, and the entire family was dragged out of the car and held at gunpoint on the ground. You can put all the safety measures you want into place, but that doesn't keep the system from being abused by the people who are running it, by agencies that don't have the safeguards that you think you've put in. There's definitely one, well, let's see. So at first, the officer who presented said that there were specific categories that this sort of search was limited to, and not 2 paragraphs later, we talked about hit and runs, and oh, well, yeah, I can look up this description of this car. So that doesn't sound very limiting to me. There are a couple of other things. Just on the biblical front, the wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. That is from Psalms 37:32 in the King James Version of the Bible. Mission creep is another thing to be wary of. These systems, what we're doing here is putting the infrastructure in place to do the things that we say this system isn't capable of now. These things can receive over-the-air updates, software updates. So just because it doesn't have this capability now to look at your face and tell who you are, which it very much does, that sort of thing can be pushed out. It could be being pushed out right now. Your cameras be updated right now to do pretty much anything that any computer can do. And you can tell me all day that this is all secure, and but what happens when this data leaks?
Point of order, public comment has reached 3 minutes.
Yes, very interesting. We get 3 minutes, people with money in unlimited time. Thank you.
Leon Fletcher?
Leon Fletcher, 8 Jordan Lane here in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'm no software engineer. I will point out, though, that our cell phones and Walmart uses facial recognition software and probably does better surveillance on us than flock cameras here in town does. If there is flaws in it, there are security issues, it definitely needs to be fixed. But one of the things I do want to bring up is in Arkansas, we're only required to have a license plate on the back of the vehicles. And obviously Bentonville is the biking capital of the world. So I would be curious to know, because most, if not all, of the bicycle racks and bicycles I see covers the rear license plate. So they couldn't read the license plate anyway. I don't know how that would help these guys. And I'd be interested in hearing what you think about that as chief. And I'd also like to use this time to again ask the city council if we couldn't get a digital countdown clock to pair so that people ask the city council to get a better digital clock to pair so that we can all keep track of our time, so we don't have to sit here with our hearts running 90 miles an hour and not know where we're at.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Leon.
Okay, I think that's everybody I have signed up. Was there anybody online? Okay, so that concludes public comment. Then we'll go to our committee reviews.
The library the library board has not met during July and August, but I have a good report from the library in respect to the summer lunches. There were 18,383 were served this time, which is a 33% increase over last year's. This is a significant effort that
Library use? Sorry, Octavia.
the library.
Summer lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, summer lunches.
Yeah, the summer lunches, yes.
Very good.
Yes. They also invited, as usual, an author for teens, and it got the attention of more than 180 attendees on this particular author, Jerry Palot. The library is also organizing a teen volunteer event in September when everybody's back to school and everybody's ready to participate in activities for the benefit of society. The utility board had a very extensive conversation on the subject that we already approved, which is the water pressure study. It is important to optimize it in order not to put excessive pressure on the pipes and the systems, but at the same time allow enough pressure to have the system functioning properly. So it is a good study that it is going to be done in the next few months. That's all. Thank you.
I don't have anything.
Anything from me?
Nothing from me either.
Oh,
Wow, look at
what
that.
can I do now? So early.
Fully done.